When the gate opened, a dungeon full of dangerous creatures emerged from the ground, a place where the chosen ones hunt, hunters endowed with extraordinary abilities. You can become one of them only by passing the test of the mysterious tower. The higher you climb, the stronger you become, gaining new powers and skills. Before awakening, all candidates are thrown into the tower with no right of return. But not everyone is able to pass at least the first level of this test. However, every 10 floors out of a possible 100 are assigned a new rank. The main character reached level 100 and tried to overcome it without stopping. Before that, he was a regular worker who carried equipment for others. He was inspired by Ruben, an S-rank hunter who reached the 61st floor. The young man dreamed of conquering the tower to change his life forever. The world in which his friends and parents died haunted him. The thoughts were interrupted by a young man for whom the hero was supposed to carry things. Together, they set off towards the entrance to the new dungeon for the raid. The guys made him go first, then pushed him into the magic field. The trap snapped shut, leaving him alone inside with a pack of hounds, fierce monsters ready to tear apart their prey. Meanwhile, others turned on the broadcast, urging viewers to place bets. These were dogfights, deadly clashes between living creatures and monsters. The hero tried to fight, but the beasts quickly surrounded him from all sides. He blew his whistle, the last resort he had with him. But this angered the monsters even more. They became even more aggressive. Then those who had framed him rushed forward, trying to stop him. The beasts turned their attention to them and instantly tore them to pieces. The hero was on the verge of death, having exhausted all his strength to resist. At that moment, the system announced a call to the tower. A chance for a new life opened up when everything seemed lost. Coming to his senses, he quickly remembered everything that had happened to him up to that point. His consciousness cleared, and it became clear that he was inside the tower. In this place, even death doesn't always mean the end if you have coins. Just like now, life came back to him, giving him a second chance. Looking at the status window, he was finally convinced that this was not a dream. All of this is what he spent years gathering knowledge for and exhausting himself with training. And now came the moment he had been waiting for more than anything else. After passing through the door of pure mana, he found himself in a green meadow. In the middle of it stood a goblin, the first obstacle on this level. He knew he was alone in this battle, so he didn't hesitate and dealt with him. Immediately, a message appeared about the completion of the first floor. But suddenly, another enemy jumped out of the shadows and struck fatally. Death was instantaneous, but this time it wasn't over. Understanding that the state was spreading false information, he did not give up and wanted to reach the top. Finding himself back in the same clearing, he decided not to rush. 3 hours passed in silence before the first enemy appeared. He did not rush into battle immediately, but decided to watch from a distance. The goblin moved cautiously, and then I managed to spot another one nearby. Both were standing near some unusual stone statuette. He guessed that it might be an artifact hidden on this floor. Without wasting time, he rushed at his enemies and destroyed them both with quick strikes. He picked up the statuette as soon as he was sure it was safe. But as soon as it touched his hands, it began to slowly dissolve. And then a new message flashed. The Lunatis statue had been obtained. This was the first time he had been lucky enough to find something like this. She was unlocking a unique quest hidden from most players. Once the artifact was activated, the task became part of his journey. Then he gained a unique skill: eyes that look at the stars. It was an ability of the highest rank that impressed even experienced hunters. It allowed you to see hidden data, clues, and even future rewards. This surprised him greatly, because something like this happens extremely rarely. On the 3rd floor, the hero encountered a kobold armed with a crossbow. He was wounded, but quickly healed with a healing potion. A tree with sap that would make him invisible to the monster's sense of smell was discovered nearby. He smeared his body and hid among the plants without making a sound. When the monster approached, the hero suddenly attacked and dealt a fatal blow. The system suggested pulling a nail out of the enemy's ring finger. For good luck. After collecting the trophy, he moved on and entered the portal between the floors. Food, rest, and access to the inner community awaited him. It was a chat room where participants discussed everything that happened to them. But most there denied the existence of a second goblin at the start. Then he registered under a humorous nickname, Classy Plintzes. In order not to attract unnecessary attention, he wrote in a veiled manner without revealing himself. However, in response, I received several messages confirming my words. This strengthened his resolve to share only the truth about the tower. And once he was confident in his actions, he moved to the next level. Everything there was littered with traps that appeared out of thin air. He was almost killed when a mechanism suddenly went off from below. Remembering the advice from the internet, he held his hands out in front of him. But after almost losing his hands, he activated his eyes and learned the location of the traps. And now he could pass through the traps without taking a single extra step. Obstacles included tricky traps, including a fire show and blades emerging from the floor. But thanks to his eyes, the hero went through everything without even getting a scratch. After a strenuous walk, he decided to rest and have a snack. Looking at his performance, he couldn't help but smile. The result was pleasing. Meanwhile, on the 30th floor of the tower, Manager Spencer, a member of the guild, was carefully monitoring the balance of coins. When his younger brother burst in, he showed new posts in the community, which caused quite a stir. After reading the message, Spencer flew into a rage and ordered the author to be found at all costs. And at this moment, the main character received a new title, the title of Conqueror. This status added 10 units to all basic characteristics. He opened the chat again and looked at the comments under his post. Among them were sincere words of gratitude, support, and even admiration. But there were also negative ones. Some denied his experience and called him a liar. Despite this, he remained true to himself and moved forward. He eventually found 3 artifacts, each of which gave a separate, unique skill. On the 4th floor, he faced a new task, to climb a high cliff. His eyes noticed a dark blue tree, suggesting he pull it out by the roots. And he did so. Rejoicing at overcoming another obstacle, he dropped the stone he had found earlier with the name engraved on it. His eyes told him that it was the signature of John, the sage who had reached the 92nd floor. This man was known for creating a real homunculus. The hero wondered how old this tower could be. With these thoughts, he reached the 5th floor, where a customized fish warrior boss, suited to his current skills and strength, awaited him. The hero decided to use the skill boxes hidden somewhere on this floor. Activating his eyes, he ran to the first pair of boxes and quickly devoured their contents. Having mastered the basic skills, he was already heading to the next container. But suddenly, the enemy caught up with him and grabbed him tightly. Without hesitation, the boy threw the knife straight into the monster's body. After falling, he managed to activate the 3rd skill box. The fish warrior responded with a blow that threw the hero into a cliff. Debris flew everywhere, but that didn't break their resolve. Recovering, he used a firebomb, burning the enemy to the ground. When the flames died down, it became clear that the battle was won. To make sure, he finished off the creature's remains, and only then did the system declare victory. A small creature fell on his head, similar to a frog, but with strange energy. The eyes immediately recognized her as a creature of chaos with extraordinary potential. The system warned, "This creature is stronger than the winner himself." It was stated that a bond should form between them, and if she does not recognize the master, the consequences could be dangerous. However, the hero was not afraid and accepted her as a companion and moved on, completing the training stage. Ahead of him lay the 6th floor and even more challenges. He found himself in a safe zone where attacking others was strictly prohibited. The boy named his frog Rick, which the creature clearly didn't like. He soon came across a man who offered a white pellet that had healing properties. However, the eyes revealed hidden magic. a spell that interfered with memories, partially changing them. The hero had no choice, so he agreed to take the pellet. But their dialogue was interrupted by another newcomer. At that moment, Rick grabbed the pellet and swallowed it. The main character just pretended to eat it and walked away. At the guest house, he decided to write another message about the pellet and the passage. After that, I took up the guidebook and continued exploring new possibilities. Soon, access to the tower's internal auction opened. The assortment was impressive, but eyes focused on the yellow body of Felane's armor. The price raised doubts, but the skill confirmed it. It's part of the legendary set. The complete set belonged to someone who reached the 99th floor. If you collect all the parts, you can gain the power of an old warrior. The guy spent an hour trying to find other pieces of equipment. Finding none, he decided to purchase a sword, a helmet, and some useful potions. The system scored 500 points and immediately launched the modification process. His parameters have increased significantly, and a new ability has also been discovered. All the artifacts collected earlier were combined into a top-level box. From there, an S-class skill called Skill Combination was dropped, which was a real breakthrough and a reason for joy. A message appeared on the screen stating that there were 3 coins, but in an instant, their number changed to a sign of infinity. He realized that he was now able to reach the top, but there were only 2 ways to leave the tower. The first is to completely capture it. The second is to spend all the coins. Given the reward he had just received, the choice was obvious. He realized that overcoming 100 levels could take almost a decade. It was very depressing, but there was no point in stopping. Meanwhile, a strict check of everyone who emerged from the portal continued in the main square. Such actions were initiated by the floor manager, Adam, with the stigma of a murderer who was looking for a certain person. They brought to him the young man who wrote the reports, including the 4th one, who caused a fury. In a fit of anger, the manager beat his subordinate, suspecting him of betrayal. The doubts were about the one who published the frank truth in the community. After that, he ordered all portals at the current level to be blocked. The goal was to find someone who could break the system. At this time, the traveler had just finished his lunch and heard a conversation at the next table. The men discussed the strange restrictions and the sudden closure of the passages. After that, he went to the outskirts to check out what he had heard. At first, he decided to just wait, when he suddenly witnessed a powerful explosion. At the other end of the level, the crowd was gripped by panic and anger. People tried to resist and demanded explanations, until Adam appeared and everyone immediately stepped back. But noticing the flash, he headed towards the epicenter. There he met the main character, who was watching the events and immediately rushed into battle. A message popped up on the screen. Upon victory, Elion would receive a reward, the opponent's skill. The opponent possessed kicking techniques, punches, and another unknown skill. He raised a signal fire into the sky, calling for support from the guild. A fight began between them, where both used their skills. It later became known that the opponent's 3rd skill was a D-rank shield. The defense could not withstand the blow, and crumbled under the force of the firebomb. Then the leader activated a brooch and bracelet, which gave a bonus to the characteristics. The reinforcements lasted 10 minutes, and the battle became even more dangerous. The enemy tried to attack with new forces, but everything did not go according to plan. The main character imperceptibly let Rick under his armor, and, pressing against Adam, used a firebomb. Inside, under the protection of his armor, Rick began healing while the explosion continued. The combination of fire and support proved decisive. After the victory, he received a new ability and skill book, and he also took all the artifacts of the defeated one. Without delay, he went further, to the 7th level of the tower. At the new level, the pet treated the traveler, for which he received a portion of his favorite food. At this time, Jim came to his senses and accepted defeat. His deputy came to him, and then the senior decided to resign. The position was passed to Sean, who became the new floor manager. Meanwhile, the hero set out to complete the task of eliminating a group of goblins. After destroying the dozen, a portal appeared, but he decided not to enter. Understanding that the level was a training level, he continued the fight. When the number of enemies exceeded 40, the system rewarded him. As a gift, they gave me a special pill for hunting. After taking it, all indicators increased noticeably. When the number of victims reached 125, the system reported that the growth limit and the goblin boss had been reached. The information about the task was hidden. Even the skill could not reveal anything. Analyzing possible bosses, the hero began to eliminate unsuitable ones. Gradually, the options disappeared, and only the last goblin with the jewels remained. After a while, the boss hiding in the cave smelled wealth. He couldn't resist and rushed towards the source of the shine. A golden statue of a frog awaited him there, but it turned out to be not a treasure, but a reincarnated Rick. The goblin, approaching the treasure, awakened his power and reached the 3rd level. The hero instantly activated the firebomb, and the frog dropped its disguise. When both of them were on the ground, the enemy reinforcements suddenly disappeared. Taking advantage of this, the traveler easily defeated his opponent. Among the trophies was a bag capable of storing any items. Plunging his hand, the boy pulled out improvement cubes, a soul stone, and part of the key to the ruins of Hyalton, which immediately attracted attention. By collecting all the fragments, you could open the treasure vault. After the fight, he decided to take a break and check the feedback from the association. The comments confirmed the truth of the words about the white pellet. One reader even did his own research with evidence. The traveler wrote a new post and moved on. On the 8th floor, a clash with orcs awaited him. He defeated them without loss, but then a new enemy appeared. A fighter named Kinatak challenged, using a gauntlet. Before he could answer anything, the hero received a message. The system automatically accepted the duel, starting the fight. While the enemy was bragging about his muscles, the hero did not hesitate and attacked. With one powerful blow, he destroyed his opponent, noticing a medal that could be obtained after fulfilling certain conditions. Namely, it was necessary to defeat numerous orcs and their leaders. Immediately after that, they began to appear and throw gloves at the hero. He activated the threat skill and destroyed several enemies. Thanks to new improvements and cubes, his strength increased, and he instantly dealt with everyone. After that, the leader appeared, and the hero decided that he was sleeping. Activating the firebomb, he hit the chair, but the enemy did not move. The leader woke up and began to squat, explaining that he had not slept. He loved to swing, and was angry that his training had been interrupted. A battle began between them, and the hero had to do nothing but dodge the blows. The first blow dealt by the hero confirmed the eye's clue that a mortal wound increases abilities. So the hero began to retreat, but the leader caught up with him. At the last moment, he used a mist curtain, hiding around a corner. My eyes told me that the duck's weak spot was their backs. Rick reminded him of the possibility of merging abilities, and the hero activated this skill. The leader found the hero and struck. It seemed that the hero was already dead. But the system announced the successful merging of abilities into one, allowing for fast movement. Now, the hero was able to instantly be behind the leader and plunge his sword into his back. After that, he activated a firebomb and delivered a devastating blow, destroying the opponent. Having defeated the leader, the main character felt incredible satisfaction. Returning to the arena, he received his reward, the second part of the key to the ruins. He immediately connected it to the first part when he received a clot of the leader, who has the power of an orc. After a brief thought, the hero ate the clot and received the power of the leader, as well as increased characteristics. Rick couldn't stand the smell, so the hero went to the shower. Once outside, he checked the alarm he had installed earlier and lit a fire in the dug hole. After that, they sat down to eat, and the hero simultaneously read articles and published his own. That's how he learned that Jim had resigned from his position and gone to the upper floors. Who, meanwhile, while on the 7th floor, defeated 100 orcs and received a beginner's kit. Realizing that everything Elion wrote was true, Jim reported it to Spencer. After that, he prepared for the next fight, determined to go all the way. After defeating the orcs, the protagonist looked through all the necessary artifacts and headed to the 9th floor. Stepping forward, he pushed aside the bush and suddenly found that the wolf's horn was a millimeter from his eye. Elion instantly grabbed the wolf and destroyed it. But the next moment, the entire pack attacked him. He fought them, destroying 30 wolves, while wondering how to get to the 10th floor faster. There, he will be able to write an article about the 8th floor without revealing his location to the guilds. Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by the system, and darkness enveloped him. The system reported the appearance of Dalkan, and the protagonist activated the luminescent stone to illuminate the space. Suddenly he felt something pass by. Out of fear, he could only guess what it was. When the monster appeared behind, Elion's blow did not harm it. He simply passed through the hero without causing any pain. Then the system reported that these were obtectors, ghosts that take away some of the abilities and strength. The main character had no choice but to flee while the obtectors attacked, taking away his magical power. They soon surrounded Rick, but he used acid to destroy several enemies. The hero took the key containing part of the sacred power and managed to defeat several obtectors. After some time and the obtectors destroyed, the night passed. Suddenly, a horned wolf appeared in front of him, which he first hugged and then strangled. Continuing the fight, he destroyed 30 more opponents when night fell. But the main character was ready for this. He created weapons from the sacred power artifacts he had made earlier and began destroying the obtectors. With each blow, they became fewer and fewer until their number reached 100. Crouching on the ground, he lit a fire and opened the association to check the comments. After reading them, he decided to write a new article. At that moment, he received a request to join as a friend from an unknown user, Todd. The protagonist recognized the new friend as one of the commenters who supported his posts. After reading the review, he noticed that his status had increased, and he received a new indicator: luck. Trusting her, he accepted the offer, and Todd told him his story. It turned out that his dead brother was a newcomer to the Goran Guild. Novices are specially bred people who are used by guilds as their main force. Goran was the largest guild, renowned for its authority. Todd shared a method for getting to the 13th floor that his brother had shared in posts. To confirm the truth of his words, Todd sent an artifact. The hero decided to deceive the guilds by writing a post with misinformation about the 13th floor. He then began preparing to combine skills by activating several skill boxes. The first skill boxes didn't work, but luck worked, and he gained new skills. Mana Blast and Love Shot became his new abilities, which he immediately combined. He then destroyed 30 more horned wolves and decided to begin the 7th night by summoning Dalkan. After several attempts, the monster finally appeared, and the hero prepared for a difficult battle. Using night vision, he was able to accurately direct the firebomb. However, the explosion did not damage the enemy, and the hero tried the power-up cubes. But that didn't work either, so he ordered Rick to shoot acid. The acid had an effect, and the hero decided to use his own handcrafted scepter with holy power. The fight continued until Dalkan broke the handle of his scepter and began to attack. The hero jumped up and quickly grabbed his comrade, who began shooting acid at the enemy. After that, the hero activated several of his skills and instantly jumped on the opponent. All activated skills began to work simultaneously, dealing devastating blows. The hero activated firebombs one after another until he was forced to combine all the skills. He later created a new powerful attack and destroyed the enemy, Dalkan. After that, he rose, using all his strength, and transformed into a dragon. Throwing his comrade away, he activated a single explosive whistle and a misty acceleration. Despite the difficulties, the hero defeated his opponent and fainted. When he regained consciousness, He saw his weakened comrade trying to help. For his victory, he received a new reward, the third part of the key, which merged with the others. He also received a fur scarf and a new title, which opened up new opportunities. On the 30th floor, members of other guilds, Louise and Tom, received important information about the hero. They decided to find a fan of the hero who wore the nickname Bald Head. Once on the 10th floor, crowded with NPCs, the hero took a few steps forward. Suddenly, one of the NPCs, Lilka, noticed him and offered a quest. But this quest had its own peculiarity. It was impossible to refuse it. Quests were divided into 3 types: those that were impossible to complete, those with no way out, and those with large fines. Lilka assured that the quest would not allow her to refuse, so the only option was to run away. However, she quickly caught up with him, and the hero expressed his displeasure to her. Realizing all the risks, he tried to abandon a simple quest to deliver materials. But Lilka, seeing Rick, offered him incredible S-level artifacts. The hero also refused the artifacts, as he intended to continue raising his pet. Lilka decided to leave, leaving him alone. After renting a room in a guest house, the hero set off on a quest that interested him more. It was an event at the Kildoris Hall Arena, where hunters competed against each other for a crazy reward. Wearing a mask to hide his identity, the hero headed to the owner to make an appointment. But, seeing that he was sleeping, he woke him up. With unexpected aggression, Kildoris lunged at the hero without any explanation. At first, the arena where the hero found himself surprised him with the unexpected aggression of the owner. Having mistaken the main character for a monster, he attacked, but realizing his mistake, calmed down. After apologizing several times, he suggested that he sign up for a competition under the name Demon's Eye. In addition, he promised to increase the reward for first place, which made the hero think. Not sure he would take first place, he decided to use the situation to his advantage. He threatened to file a complaint about the NPC attack, which attacked a person for no reason. In response, the arena owner activated the closed space and granted the right to pass without selection. Having made his decision, the hero learned that an odd number of participants would advance to the finals. One of them who remains will be the winner without a fight, and he himself was appointed as such. The hero did not hesitate and agreed, after which he headed to the market for new abilities. After purchasing food and a dagger, he witnessed a scene where a mob beat a robber who was trying to steal artifacts. As soon as manager Lijin appeared, he decided to deal with it personally, bearing the mark of a murderer. He challenged the robber to a duel, promising not to interfere in the thefts if he won. The robber only apologized, but eventually engaged in combat, with his opponent reinforced by the crowd's reaction. With each blow, Lijin became stronger, and victory was inevitable. The hero, seeing this, thought that he would be easy to defeat if the extra eyes did not interfere. Continuing to move, he stopped, noticing how his luck had reacted to one chest. In the potion shop, the seller showed various potions, including poisonous ones. The box contained defective potions that could be deadly, but Rick needed them. The hero bought them all and put them in a bag, then went to the room. Suddenly he felt that the salesman was following him, so he decided to quickly change direction. He climbed onto the roof after hearing the seller's words about a job for whoever found the bag of jewels. To get ahead of everyone, the hero hurried to the manager, deciding to act first. On the roof, he thought to himself that he should be careful and not use the bag in front of people again. This was drawing too much attention, and he decided to act more quietly. The seller passed all the information to the manager, telling about the bag and advertising his potions. Lijin quickly realized that it was poison and gave the order to seize the seller. The next day, Rick drank the poison and gained new abilities. The hero wrote to fans not to try to poison guild members. After that, they set off to complete Lilka's quest before the competition began. In the square, the hero heard rumors about the expulsion of a vendor who tried to kill Lijin. He went there and saw the manager killing the salesman again and again. This continued until the moments that defined the expulsion from the tower were over. Having climbed to the 11th floor, the hero began to complete the quest. While killing monsters, he collected materials until he found a skill book that granted resistance to fire. The monster guarded this artifact, and after its destruction, the hero gained another resistance to poison. I immediately activated these new skills and moved on. He read the comments of his friends who had already organized the competition and decided to come up with a reward for the winner. Having climbed to the 12th floor, the hero quickly destroyed all the monsters without delay. Then he headed to the 13th, where he had to survive for 8 hours. After destroying one weak monster, a fiery dragon appeared before him. The hero initially thought of hiding, but saw the dragon swallowing lava and decided to attack. The attempt ended in death, and the hero ended up on the 10th floor. Using all his artifacts, he decided to try again. But when the sword broke, the hero died again and set off in search of a new weapon. Arriving at the arena, the hero agreed to the offer to temporarily exchange Rick for powerful artifacts. The hero asked Lilka for a sword in exchange for his companion, reasoning that she gives this quest to everyone. No one has ever done it before, and she hasn't completed a single order in 10 years. This undermined her trust, so it was in her best interest to help him complete the task. She agreed to give him the sword for a week until he completed the quest, and Rick would stay with her. If the hero successfully completes the task, she will give both Rick and the sword. Several artifacts, including a skill book, were given to him by Kildoris. Once on the 13th floor, the hero knew that there was one vulnerable scale on the dragon. He decided to pull it out while the dragon was drinking the lava. The hero stuck his sword near the scale, but the dragon threw it away. Then, when the hero tried to jump on it again, using the leverage method, the dragon dodged and appeared right in front of him. Stopping after a long escape, the hero activated the artificial knight with obtectors. He tried to pull out the scale, but the sword popped out, and he continued to work with his bare hands. Finally, he managed to tear off the scale, but while completing the quest, he died. Once on the 10th floor, he saw that spectators had already gathered in the arena. Half of them were members of various guilds. The competition was announced by the organizer as the hero headed to the waiting room. But he accidentally ended up in the arena itself. The announcement of 15 contestants caused outrage among viewers, who considered it unfair. Therefore, the organizer came up with a punishment for those who passed without selection. He took away one of the skills, since normal people usually had 3 or 4. The main character had much more of them, so this was the easiest punishment for him. When choosing a skill, the organizer only showed the rank, but the hero knew that it was night vision. He was very happy, and soon the first round of the competition began. The first participant has been announced, Yun, the future arena manager. His opponent was an unknown fighter who demanded dinner with the princess as a wish. The hero checked the community and found out that your bald head had climbed to the 10th floor. This was confirmed by the competition in the arena, and the audience began to recognize him. The hero's mask attracted attention, and he received a compliment for his style. Your bald head suddenly started a fight and destroyed Yun with one blow. Meanwhile, the floor manager saw the fight and announced a plan to eliminate the bald head. He wanted to destroy this fighter after the competition, but his deputy brought unpleasant news. Most guilds ordered not to kill the bald head, because they wanted to accept him as their own. The bald head eventually continued to fight and took first place in its group. Later, the hero was introduced as the Eye of the Devil, and Jim became his opponent. The protagonist decided not to use the firebomb so as not to reveal his identity. The battle began, and the hero moved quickly, hiding traps behind his every move. He dug a hole behind Jim, which he fell into. When the main character almost defeated his opponent, Jim activated the mana bursts. This hindered the hero's movements, and then Jim set off smoke bombs. They were hiding from the audience, and then Jim tore the mask off the hero. When his helmet activated, Jim recognized him. He still wasn't sure if he was a classy punk, but he was tasked with finding out. Jim said he would step up to verify the veracity of this person's posts. If everything turned out to be true, he agreed to help her. The hero pulled his mask back on, and the fight continued. This time, he dug an even bigger hole and activated a firebomb. The hero destroyed Jim, and Kildoris announced a short pause. But the main character wanted to continue the battle immediately. His next opponent agreed, and was destroyed a second after the fight began. The hero threw a stone in his face as the bald head watched the battle. He wanted to take first place and dedicate his victory to the classy Plintseva, considering her a woman. After opening the community, he saw many invitations from guilds. There was also a message from his love. The classy Plinus did not manage to see the battle, but she promised a meeting in case of victory. Before the final battle, Kildoris announced the rewards. Third place, 1,000 points and access to the training arena. For the second, 3,000 points and level B. For the first, a trophy, 5,000 points. A skill book, and the right to one call of Kildoris. Guild members were frantic and eager to acquire rewards, no matter who had them. The final duel began, and the hero competed against the bald head. They used all their skills, and the firebomb was the hero's final blow. But, to everyone's surprise, even after the huge explosion, the bald head remained on its feet, unharmed. They struck one after another, but each remained on his feet, continuing the fight. The protagonist tried to gain an advantage by using water and digging holes, but the bald head used his signature technique, a powerful blow that increased the force tenfold. The hero found himself on his knees. It seemed that he had lost, but suddenly he activated his special ability, revenge. This frightened the spectators, and they began to run away. But Kildoris activated the barrier. After a huge explosion, and the thick fog that dissipated, only one winner remained, the hero. The hero immediately turned his attention to the manager's seats, sensing something suspicious. Later, the bald head was carried to the room where he regained consciousness. Upon awakening, he received the breath of a green dragon. This increased his performance and gave him resistance to poison. He informed the clerk of his loss and left the room. The managers were already waiting for him there, intending to arrest him. The bald head noticed several very strong individuals in the crowd following the managers. Suddenly, guild representatives appeared, but no one listened to them. They were simply pushed aside. Then he realized that a battle was inevitable and prepared to defend himself to the fullest. The crowd moved in on him, forcing him to act immediately. At this time, the main character, looking for Lilka, met a familiar owner of the arena. He agreed to take him to his destination. As they walked, the interlocutor tried to learn more about the bald head. However, the hero decided not to reveal any secrets to the community. They reached Lilka, where he immediately handed her the dragon scale he had obtained. After that, he immediately headed to the person he had come to pick up. His companion was already waiting. Dressed in luxurious clothes, he rushed to hug his host. At that moment, the ground shook. An earthquake began. The owner of the arena already knew what it meant. The protagonist also learned about the events through the community. The owner could not intervene due to system limitations, so he proposed a new task. Without wasting time, the hero agreed and, putting on a mask, set off towards the battle. Arriving at the scene, he announced that he was acting on behalf of the police. They stood side by side and entered the battle together. They fought to the last, leaving no chance for their enemies. The main character suddenly noticed that Legion was barely able to hold on in the crowd. Without wasting time, he ran up and struck at his exhausted opponent. At this moment, Rick spat poison, forcing the enemy to remove his armor. With this, he opened the defense, and the hero quickly finished him off. Looking back, he noticed his friend lying on the ground, powerless, the crowd brutally beating him, preventing him from regaining consciousness. Despite his fatigue, the hero rushed to help without hesitation. Suddenly, threads of mana descended from the sky, covering them. A familiar silhouette appeared on the roof, throwing smoke bombs. This allowed them to escape, taking cover in the fog. They reached the arena where the familiar owner was already waiting. The victim was placed in a special recovery capsule. The main character, meanwhile, decided to find out some things. He was interested in the system's interest in interacting with NPCs. It was explained to him that most people treat them as inanimate objects. But through emotions, you can build a real connection. So he started to find out if anything was known about friends from the community. He called out familiar names, trying to find at least some information. After a short pause, his interlocutor guessed who he was. The hero confirmed that it was he who was hiding under the guise of a plinces. And as a reward, he asked for safety for his friends at level 10. This was the main goal, to provide protection for those dear to him. They agreed to help, and the owner of the arena even gave them a small gift. The protagonist thanked him, put on his mask, and headed towards the enemy organization. Without delay, he neutralized the two guards at the entrance. Meanwhile, Lilka wondered why the owner of the arena was helping a near stranger. He replied that he saw his successor in the bald head, which surprised her quite a bit. While they were talking, the traveler passed another level and defeated another boss. He took a short pause and opened the community to find out the news. Reports indicate that the top brass has left the tower. It also became clear that the guilds received severe punishment. For assaulting a participant, they are banned from participating in tournaments for 5 years. The competitions themselves have been temporarily suspended for at least 2 months. Meanwhile, Lilka will be handing out new quests, and they won't be pleasant ones. Having received the task, the traveler publicly warned the guilds about the possible consequences. His message became a warning to anyone who dares to touch their friends. After that, he moved on, going up to the next floor. There, hordes of the undead were already waiting for him. Zombies, witches, and skeletons. He began the battle by first destroying all the witches with fire. After that, he burned several zombies, clearing the way forward. But the skeletons did not react to poison, water, or flame. Then the traveler dug a deep hole right under them, and he activated the explosion skill several times in a row, burning everything inside to ashes. The system gave him a reward, a statue with a strange sign on it. Suddenly he realized that the place where he was fighting had once been a peaceful village. Now, embittered souls, full of resentment, ruled here. He knew that this place had been destroyed by a witch who brought the plague. In fact, it all happened during a brutal attack during the war. The system showed the opportunity to take on a new task, and he agreed. At that moment, the statue in his hands changed right before his eyes. In its place, several giant creatures made of energy appeared. They immediately moved forward, beginning the cleansing of the cursed land. The giants began to destroy the evil spirits, cleansing the territory of infected souls. Meanwhile, the traveler, lacking clues, was lost in his own thoughts. The heretical mark was created by the Order of Fire for religious purposes. They sought to impose a new belief on all the inhabitants of the peaceful village. When they refused, a bloody war began that changed the course of events. People were called heretics and turned into zombies and skeletons. Having understood the truth, the traveler realized that he was now on the side of the damned. Not wanting this, he rushed at the giants, destroying one after another. Eventually, he climbed to the roof, where he had a full view of the battle. Seeing the evil spirits defending the center, I immediately headed there. There, using the power of his eyes, he unearthed a statue of the ice goddess. It was Prelia, a symbol of a forgotten order that once ruled these lands. With it came new knowledge about the Order of Ice and the Lost Kingdom. Once upon a time, fire destroyed the ice, and a religious massacre began. In his hands was the key to the ruins of Hyalton, the former sacred capital. But suddenly he realized that he was going the wrong way in his conclusions. The real conflict is a long-standing confrontation between two forces that is escalating again. The statue, as if responding to this, shattered into pieces, and merged with the evil spirit. This strengthened them even more, making the battle even tougher. Everyone on the battlefield received a boost, and the traveler activated a gift from the arena owner. After that, a fierce struggle began between the followers and the monsters. Among the support, a witch stood out, constantly strengthening the defenders of evil. One of the horsemen helped the hero reach the main enemy. He tried to deliver a decisive blow, but the dark giant was quickly recovering. Then, using his vision, the seeker recognized that the core of the monster was its entire body. There was only one solution: to cut it completely open, which he did. However, the creature instantly recovered, and now there were two of them standing before him. Therefore, the traveler tried to escape, but the monsters quickly caught up with him. Just a moment before defeat, he was saved by a horseman, standing between him and his enemies. He held off the giants, giving his ally a chance to drink the potion and recover. After regaining consciousness a little, the seeker considered strategy and took out his skill books. He learned new techniques, which he immediately combined into an ability, Return of the Deceased. I also got the opportunity to strengthen one of the skills by absorbing another. However, instead of the usual boost, the abilities were combined into a new one. Freezing Breaks. With a new arsenal of strength, he once again rushed into battle against the giant. I waited for him to strike, and at that very moment I activated a new technique. After that, the characteristics increased dramatically, giving an advantage. A few well-aimed attacks and the dark giant was destroyed. By destroying the second giant, he gained the element of fire and the gratitude of the villagers. But suddenly, everything changed. A vision of a peaceful land appeared before my eyes. At the center of the illusion stood a stranger, with a sword that now belonged to the seeker and the woman. Suddenly, everything burst into flames, and the vision turned into chaos and battle. When he returned to reality, he saw an ice crystal connected to Hyaltin. And I also realized that the sword also carries a share of that power. However, instead of the expected reward, he only received the favor of the fire element. Furious, he moved on, climbing to the 16th level. There he was met by the fire augs, spirits of flame who showed no hostility. These creatures, although they were monsters, could become allies. Those who controlled spirits became masters of souls. Over time, the traveler improved fire resistance and modernized the store's functions. After opening the community, he learned that one of his comrades had reached level 10. He wanted to meet with an ally who was busy training with his mentor. Another acquaintance received an assignment from the influential ruler of this floor. After that, the friend decided to climb to level 20 at any cost, following the hero. And the traveler set out on the 17th, ordering the spirits to detain his friend. He also explained to Rick that he would not publish data from the 15th floor. Meanwhile, my friend, without waiting for an answer, headed for the 11th level. After entering the desert, the traveler received 3 new tasks to complete. The first of these required finding an oasis, so that was where he headed first. An argument broke out between him and his companion on the spot, which attracted the creature's attention. However, the enemies were quickly defeated without much effort. His gaze was drawn to the key from the ruins, which suddenly began to glow strangely. He began digging, searching for the source of the reaction, while his comrade lay on the rock. Looking at him, the hero realized that he was resting on the remains of ancient structures. Then he dove into the water and intuitively understood where he needed to swim. When he opened the store, he was looking for scuba diving equipment. The price of the goods raised doubts, so he turned to a friend for help. He sent instructions for creating a special mask by hand. Starting work, the searcher used a fish with a human face. The scales were peeled off, and he soaked them in a weakly acidic solution for 15 minutes. After drying, my eyes told me that the scales had significant value, and a rare, high-class elixir could be made from them. So he began collecting scales, realizing their potential value. Eventually, the mask was ready, and they and their companion dived into the body of water. A gap opened in front of them at the bottom, resembling a lock for a key. Once inside, he saw two statues, a fire goddess and an ice goddess. Eventually, a crowd of monsters familiar from past battles rushed at him. This time, the enemies attacked from both sides, making the defense difficult. He destroyed them one by one, until only the two strongest remained. These were third-level monsters that proved to be more resilient than the others. Rick released the poison, weakening the icy defender. The hero finished off the enemy with a firebomb, leaving no chance. He dealt with his fiery opponent much faster. After that, the door to the next test opened before him. The first part of the room was engulfed in fire, but thanks to the protection he made it through without any casualties. In the second, there was an icy cold that paralyzed movement. To withstand this, he asked the companion to maintain heat from the inside. Meanwhile, he himself used the skill to destroy ice barriers. Eventually, the second zone was also passed, and a passage further appeared. He found himself in a huge treasury filled with jewels and magical items. In the center stood a figure who turned out to be a representative of a mysterious order. His level was unknown, but his strength was felt immediately. For successfully passing both tests, the traveler was allowed to choose an artifact. Among 1,000 objects, only one could be touched. And only for a moment. My eyes told me which artifact was worth paying attention to. He approached, trusting his instinct, and made a choice. Before him lay the blade of a frost sword, which looked like the personification of cold fire. Ragnarok approved his choice and handed over a weapon that possessed the power of both elements. Immediately after that, the elements of fire and ice merged, and the sword took on its original form. Ragnarok did not hesitate and began the third test, creating his reflection. This double made the hero think about the importance of his loved ones. He realized that Rick was his most valuable friend, and that gave him strength. With a new understanding, he began to fight with renewed determination, as if everything depended on him. 3 powerful blows, and the double was destroyed. But that was only the beginning. Now Ragnarok has brought forth an entire army of animal-like creatures and his own doubles. The hero entered the battle, destroying enemies one by one, without stopping for a moment. The opponents united, becoming a powerful being. But that didn't stop him. The crowd, merging into one, became even more dangerous, but it too fell before the hero. The hero prepared for the next challenge by activating the reinforcement cubes. This time he got the number 6, and the spirit of the one who had climbed the 84th floor appeared before him. The next stage was revenge, when Ragnarok killed his friend, leaving Elion in grief. Pain and anger overwhelmed the hero, and he rushed into the attack without hesitation, delivering blows one after another. Activating all his skills, he did not stop, seeking to repay the enemy for his lost friend. The spirit that appeared with him also joined the fight, helping in revenge. When the protagonist's magic began to wear off, he ordered the spirit to return. Then he activated all his powers to destroy Ragnarok and end this battle once and for all. Despite all efforts, the hero could not win, and the third stage began. Forgiveness. The anger and pain overwhelmed him so much that he continued to fight, even at the limit of his strength. Ragnarok demanded forgiveness for killing his friend and attempted to bind him with magical bonds. But the hero, pulling out his dagger, stuck it into himself, absorbing his blood and activating the curse. This allowed him to hide the sword, die, and respawn in a safe zone, taking the relic from the temple. Despite Ragnarok's indignation, he received a new title. When the hero came to, he saw a living friend in front of him and was incredibly happy. Now they had set off to new floors, and although the sword had become temporarily unavailable, he only had the dagger. But his greatest achievement was his new title, Relic Robber, which allowed him to increase his power. This meant that each theft of the relic increased his sacred power, so he planned to destroy Ragnarok morally. The representative of the order felt enormous magical power in the person who had already passed 2 rooms. He hoped that she would become a reliable support for the order in the future. When the door opened, a hero appeared before him, ready to fight. He grabbed the relic and, using the dagger, died to be reborn and continue the fight. For the seventh time, he was already planning to take another relic without stopping. Ragnarok was filled with rage, and he sought to destroy his opponent. But despite this, he withstood all the attacks and responded with threats that he would return again. The hero promised to come again and again until he apologized for killing his friend. Ragnarok, forced to protect the relics, bowed and asked for forgiveness. Then the hero and his friend took the compensation, the crown, and Rick poured acid on his opponent. They both died after that, having achieved their goal. Because of the stolen crown, a representative of the order forbade the hero from entering the ruins, and the key disappeared. Instead, one of the participants handed Elian a parchment for instructions on how to create a mask. The hero accepted the parchment, and having 36,000 points on his balance, bought coupons to increase his level. He combined them and gained new skills, then shared the news with the community. Rumors spread quickly, as the hero recommended skills such as camera and photo publishing. He also promised to give one of the commentators 2 skills, in addition to guilds. Tom and Louise, hearing this gossip, went to Spencer, expressing their concern. The guild leaders ordered them not to hunt the hero, trying to negotiate with him. However, they disagreed with the order and decided to team up with Spencer, who had a plan. Meanwhile, the hero received numerous offers from people on higher floors who wanted to buy skills. Later, Elian was looking through his friends' posts and found out that one of them was on the 20th floor. He decided to hurry, because there was only one floor left to go. When he reached the 19th floor, he noticed the boss behind the door. After drinking the elixir, he opened the door and saw that everything around was burning. Before he had time to look around, the stranger appeared and seated him at a table overflowing with food. The hero, after some thought, decided to try the food that was on the table. After he and his partner ate everything, their performance improved significantly. So they set out on their main mission, which was to defeat an unknown enemy. A boss named Wayne stood in the way of where Elian needed to get to. If they win, a reward awaits them, so they immediately entered the battle. The hero couldn't just walk away without a fight, so he had to enter the fray. He struck one blow after another, using every skill at his disposal. During the battle, he managed to bypass Wayne and almost reached his goal, when suddenly Wayne jumped out of the clutches of the crabs and obtectors, delivering a powerful blow. The hero stood his ground and, delivering a powerful blow, accidentally reached his goal. He received the Seal of Fire, absorbed it, and improved his fire skills. In addition, he gained approval from the Order of Fire, which allowed the use of relics. Wayne was interested in the hero's sword, so he offered a trade. He was ready to give up the helmet, part of which the hero already had. The hero agreed and went to the 20th floor. Meanwhile, Lilka came out from around the corner and began repairing the shield that the hero had destroyed. She transformed it into a fire protector shield, which provided significant benefits. With the new items, Wayne entered the portal, calling out the mysterious girl's name. Once on the 20th floor, Elian noticed fewer people. Looking for Lilka, she found him first. But she pulled him towards someone and asked for help, which made him anxious. However, when they stopped at a kiosk, Lilka asked him to buy something. This request greatly embarrassed the hero. The hero learned that Lilka owed Bella food. He decided that first, the debt needed to be paid, and then she could pet Rick. As it turned out, Rick was a girl, which surprised the main character. He led Lilka into an alley and began asking about other armor, promising a profitable exchange. Lilka agreed, but admitted that she didn't have any piece of armor. She promised to provide information about the NPC who had these parts. The hero decided to take Rick to the pool as compensation for Lilka's harassment. After putting on the helmet, he learned that the armor repairs itself, and its performance increases significantly. This impressed him, and he immediately opened a community where he was reminded of the competition. The main goal of the competition was defense, where the floor was divided into areas, one of which had to be chosen. Participants had to destroy monsters, and they had to act as a team. To participate in the competition, you had to contact an NPC, so the hero headed to Bella. She said that most choose other areas because of the large number of buildings for defense. There was only one building in their area, so they always suffered major damage. When a participant dies, the points are divided among the team, so some even adjust this. The hero pondered her words and realized that whoever defends the area alone takes away all the achievements. He decided that he would become such a protector, thinking of his own benefit, pretending to be a hero. At that time, in another area, 4 unknown men were playing chess. Later, they noticed an unknown person who had been building barricades for several days. They gave him some advice, but it was too late. This unknown person turned out to be Lick My Top. He had already completed the construction, and the competition was about to begin. The hero, finding himself in his zone, realized that there were 30 participants here. Activating his eyes, he looked through the information about the participants. But Lizna didn't find My Top, but he found several interesting competitors, among whom was one man, Pakunsik. Pakunsik demonstrated how he revived a goblin and then burned it. This forced other participants to follow his example. However, the main character decided to act independently. He put on a mask and registered under the name Devil's Eye. When the list of participants was announced, the hero learned that the same district had chosen Lizni Moi Makivku, and so the first wave of monsters began. The hero's team immediately prepared to flee, but he rushed into battle, motivating the others. The first wave ended, and the next one began. The hero noticed several participants. Sabina quickly created robots that attacked monsters. Lisan destroyed his enemies so that they did not even realize their death. Meanwhile, Pakunsik taught other participants how to earn points for free. He devoured monsters that were destroyed by others, gaining points for their deaths. Elion completed the second wave by destroying the last monster. Opening the ratings, he noticed that he was in second place, while Lick My Top was in first place. Meanwhile, Lizni My Top was repelling the third wave, destroying all the flying monsters. After that, he moved on to the ground and finished the wave first. But when he opened the ratings, he saw that he was now in second place, and Elion was in first place. Meanwhile, the hero dealt with the fifth wave, fighting level 3 monsters and collecting points. He was struggling with all his might when he noticed that Lisan and Sabina were barely able to stay on their feet. Then his gaze fell on Pakunsik, who was disrupting the perfect balance of their strategy. The strategy was for the hero to take on the first row of monsters, while Lisan and Sabina took out the rest of the enemies from behind. But Pakunsik, surrounding them from behind, tried to destroy Lisan and Sabina to take away their points. The hero instantly found himself next to Sabina, grabbed her, and destroyed the monsters. After that, he hurried to Lisan and also saved him. Then Pakunsik and several other participants turned to him for help. The hero helped them by activating a holy shield around the people. He pushed Pakunsik away, forbidding him to enter the shield, and he was killed by the monsters. After that, the hero headed towards the crowd of enemies when Sabina and Lisan felt an explosion. After the explosion, the dome disappeared, and a hero appeared from the fog, declaring victory. They defeated all the monsters first. After the victory, the participants expressed gratitude to the hero, and Lisan and Sabina introduced themselves. They talked about a newly formed fan club where they exchange information, with Todd at the helm. The hero found out that he was ranked second and decided to break down the barriers around him. He took his sword and set out for other areas. Meanwhile, the bald head, who came first in the ranking, did not have time to rejoice in his victory, because the ranking changed. She took off her helmet, and it became known that she was a girl named Lily. It turned out that she is a gold medalist in volleyball and really hates losing. After the competition ended, the barrier disappeared, and a crowd of people from the guilds appeared in front of Lily. They asked to speak to the classy princess, promising gifts in return. Meanwhile, the hero, along with Lilka, were eating at Bella's and asked about the piece of parchment he had received earlier. Bella recognized that there was a similar artifact in the warehouse. Lilka examined the parchment and reported that it was probably a trigger artifact. This meant that it was related to a quest or ruins, so it could be a key to something important. The hero became interested in how NPCs find artifacts that are given out for completing quests. Lilka explained that they either buy them in the system, or from other merchants, or look for them themselves. She also added that she was ready to share details about the purchase in the system for 50,000 points. However, due to the level of trust, she could have told this for a smaller amount. Elion, thanking her, stroked her, which made Lilka feel a little embarrassed. It was at this moment that Bella appeared and also commented on the situation. Lilka got angry, hit Elion with water, and ran away, while Bella explained the situation. She said that each NPC had to fulfill their role, which could not be violated, so Lilka felt ashamed. Then Bella handed him a second piece of parchment, which turned out to be a map of treasures hidden on the 28th floor. Elion thanked and promoted Bella's stall in the community, then headed to the 21st floor. There he destroyed monsters, received a skill book for cold resistance, and a reward for victory. After receiving a skill improvement ticket, he increased his luck score. Luck was not long in coming, and he found something valuable underground. Elion dug up the ground and found the third map fragment, then went to the 22nd floor. He climbed into the cold water, increasing his level of resistance to the cold. After that, he spent 52,000 points on improving his skills. Meanwhile, Rick stated that she was hungry, and Elion let her choose lunch. While she was choosing, he was buying the ingredients for the elixir. He later agreed with Todd about a skill book for making potions. In exchange, he offered a brooch of seething power and 5,000 points for a fan club dinner. Elion was happy with the deal because he still had 45,000 points left. But suddenly the system reported that Rick spent the 45,000 on a takeaway buffet. This made Elion very angry, and he decided to cancel the deal with them. However, the system warned that in this case, they would encounter combatants. These people hunt level 5 to 6 monsters for cooking. The hero accepted the situation and went to the 24th floor to get a piece of armor. After passing the 23rd floor, the hero headed to the 24th to complete the quest that Lilka gave him. He soon reached the Aqueti cave, where he encountered snowballs. From the outside, these lumps looked cute, but in reality, they were poisonous. In the cave he found earlier, he came across a strange depiction of a pose. After he correctly repeated the pose, the door opened. After passing a few more such tests, he made it to the dance floor. Here, he needed to win a dance battle without using combat techniques. If he won, he would receive material for Lilka and a piece of parchment. However, the hero failed the selection, but fortunately, there was another round. In addition to him, 9 other participants took part in this round. The hero tried to destroy the competitors, but he failed to cause any damage. Then Rick struck and changed the situation. When the extra round began, only the hero entered the stage and was automatically accepted. The main round began, and the hero used his skills as special effects. He danced the dance he learned before coming here. As a result, he took 3rd place, but this did not suit him. He added even more special effects, and in the end, took 1st place. Having received the reward, the hero gained the crown of Dancing Master and a new title. This title allowed you to increase your stats through dancing. After that, he set off for the snowy mountain in search of the merchant that Lilka had mentioned. The merchant's name was Aelius. He loved flowers and dresses and was quite strong. Arriving at the territory of Aelius, the hero noticed that everything was flourishing, but the owner was not happy with the guests. Aelios did not accept the gifts and immediately killed the hero. Having regained consciousness, the hero found himself on the 20th floor and shared his experiences with Bella. She noticed that her business was going uphill, and the hero tried to climb 12 more times, but he was dying. For the 13th time, he decided to seek help. Having received the seal of the trading company, he set off again. On the 24th floor, before another death, he showed the seal and met Aelius for the first time. The hero tried to strike him in retaliation, but Aelius dodged, and the hero fell, losing consciousness. When he came to, he went out to Aelius, and a conversation began between them. The owner explained why he defends his territory from unpredictable traders and guests. Later, Aelius showed a piece of armor, the right hand, for which the hero had come. But to get this part, Aelius challenged the hero to a duel. If the hero manages to inflict at least one wound, he will get what he wants. The fight began, and the protagonist understood how Aelius was trying to protect his home. So he aimed straight at it, and was instantly at the building, threatening to destroy it. But when the hero touched the wall, a soul stone burst out of the bag, and the situation changed. Aelius had no choice but to agree to the terms and give up part of his armor for the artifact. To prove that he would do no harm, he made the hero his successor. This meant that the hero would be safe, and he agreed, after which he struck Aelius. After that, Aelius led the hero to a special room in the residence. Behind her door was frozen dead Penny, the daughter of Emperor Great Fran. There was a romantic relationship between Aelius and Penny, and he pulled the soul stone into her body. While the owner worked on reviving Penny, the main character sat in the next room. He tried not to interfere, but he noticed Aelios's boots, which his luck had drawn his attention to. The hero immediately put them on, and Aelius, seeing this, could not refuse. They went outside, and the host began to explain in detail about the NPC and successors. NPCs own the tower and pay a high price for the opportunity to be there. Each NPC has its own responsibilities, and if they are not fulfilled, they turn into a regular system NPC. Aelius also belonged to this category, and therefore did not live on safe floors. Since the floors of the tower are individual for each ascent, Aelius visited each of them. This resulted in his soul being shattered into pieces, leaving him with only 10 years left. The NPC can be released if his successor reaches floor 100, so the hero will have to undergo tough training. Many other NPCs will target him, and if he fails to conquer the tower, he will become one of them. The hero was to be trained by Aelios, a ghostly swordsman who was trying to conquer the 99th floor. Aelios interrupted his training and ran to the workshop, leaving the hero with 30 tiers of equity. From the rest, he created a necklace that he gave to Penny, who was soon to come to life. They headed towards her, and when the crystal shattered, Penny came to life. She explained that Great Front was a golden empire that existed before the tower appeared. Chaos ensued in the empire after that, and Aelios, unable to pass the 99th floor, returned there. As an NPC, he found a way to get Penny into the tower by locking her soul in stone and her body in crystal. But over time, he lost the stone, and here was Penny standing before them, emphasizing that she needed food more. Then the hero decided to intervene and led them to the courtyard, where he showed them a surprise from Aelius. Before them stood a takeaway buffet, ready to satisfy their tastes. They immediately started eating, and the main character noticed that the owner was not feeling well. This was caused by the rapid destruction of self-awareness, and he decided to act. Elion asked Aelios to bring the gem and wrote "Meow Punch." After handing over the seal, he sent the stone, emphasizing that it was the master's work. The contract offer was this: Aelios would work for her, making stones. He will also do the work, earning points, and thus stay in the tower. Meanwhile, one of the cafeteria workers handed Elion a VIP invitation to the party. But he admitted that they are looking for regular customers due to a shortage of workers. This meant they wanted to negotiate deals with customers to source ingredients. After eating, they went to bed, but in the morning, Alias unexpectedly approached the main character. He ordered things to be packed and explained in the courtyard that NPCs who would collect information about people would arrive soon. The hero needed to leave the place to hide his identity and avoid trouble. Alios instructed him to walk the entire tower to maintain his anonymity. After expelling the hero, he gave away the skill book and his memories of battles, which gave him an advantage on all floors. The hero was about to leave when he received a message from Meow Punch that people from her company were already on the 24th floor. Elian had to fulfill the conditions for opening the portal once again. Suddenly, he noticed NPCs, one of whom sensed the hero's presence. But he immediately rushed in that direction, which forced Elian to act quickly. The main character used a dagger, tricked the NPC, and died, ending up on the 20th floor. Only 2 days later, after Lilka checked the floor, he was able to climb to 25. There he found himself in a post-apocalypse, felt poisonous energy, and went to its source. Finding a solution that might come in handy, he collected it. Walking further, he came across a closed emergency exit, and as he passed, robots with weapons appeared in front of him. The hero hid and remembered the moments when he was next to the soldiers fighting monsters. Back then he was scared even of weapons, but now he has changed. Without hesitation, he destroyed the robots and successfully completed the task by opening the portal. Then he took away the weapons, wanting to create means for those who only enter the tower. By writing to Todd, he received 3 skill books that helped him create potions and weapons. When everything was ready, he headed for the portal, but was drawn to the door behind him. He found the ventilation and asked Rick to come up when luck drew his attention to the door on the side. Rick opened the door with a lever, and they went inside. Elian saw huge capsules, which raised new questions in him. The capsules contained residents of the fallen village, who had placed themselves in special equipment. They tried to return to the bright world, but due to a system failure, everyone died. Elian, pondering what he had seen, went to the 26th floor, where he destroyed the monster without any problems. After that, he published his progress and learned about the arrival of newcomers. He also received a message about the readiness of weapons for the newbies and asked Todd to send the artifacts, which were to be handed over to Jim, a representative of the enemy guild. Meanwhile, on the 30th floor, Spencer, Tom, and Louise were ordered to go up to the 40th floor. They were discussing their next steps when they were interrupted by an assistant who brought the news. It turned out that the classy princess had given the camera and photos to Jim, so they were preparing to put the plan into action. On the 27th floor, Elian was reviewing the guild's proposals for cooperation, and then he prepared to complete the task upstairs, the destruction of cold-blooded trees. After destroying 23 trees, Elian set out in search of a snow spirit to complete the quest, when a small tree, barely alive, asked him to destroy the others. Elian, hurrying to the spirit, promised to return later, but his eyes gave a clue. This tree was a spirit, so the hero destroyed all the others and helped the tree bloom. Meanwhile, the tree turned into a girl who thanked him for her salvation. The girl introduced herself as the queen of the snow spirits and explained her origins. She said that snow spirits are the ancestors of elves and druids, and their history has been going on for several generations. The queen gave Elian the crown, but it did not count in the system, not becoming part of his achievements. Then she asked for help, because she was the only snow spirit, and her body could give birth to new spirits. These spirits could grant Elian any wish, but they had to complete her task. A new goal was revealed. He was to help her turn into a seed and bury it in a certain place. A high elf was to help him with this, and for completing the quest, he would receive an important reward. Elian realized that he had a unique quest ahead of him and decided to take the chance. He asked about the place where the queen had hidden the destroyed treasure map, to which she suggested the location of the pieces. The queen also gave him an important tip for completing the task. Eat a lot. Having turned into a seed, the queen left everything in Elian's hands. He picked it up, and then, after digging up 2 more pieces of the map, he headed to the 28th floor. On this floor, he completed the task without difficulty and opened a portal on the roof of the castle. Elian informed Lily about the treasures on the 28th floor and headed to the castle, following the clues. After taking a few steps, he noticed that the floor beneath him had collapsed, opening a new path. There he saw a door leading into the labyrinth, and without hesitation, he went inside. After passing through several traps, he came across a dead man's lamp, which was known from local horror stories. In the tower, a green light meant the approach of ghosts that could drive anyone crazy. None of the attacks worked on them, so it was time for Rick to neutralize the ghosts. This allowed the main character to reach the deceased's lamp and, closing it, take it for himself. Continuing his journey, he came across a crossroads with a symbol hanging above each path. Taking a risk, he went through each path. A trap awaited in the triangular one and a hydra in the square one. After destroying the hydra, he obtained the pearl and allowed his assistant to eat its flesh, gaining armor. Later, the main character received a message from Jim, who was angry. Because of the gift, everyone chased him, but he still became a semi-novice. It turned out that on the 6th floor, another guild was trying to take control and force them to accept the pellet. The hero gave the task to his assistant to find a way to get around this floor, and moved on. The 3rd path he took was already destroyed, indicating that he was not the first to walk through the maze. Then he found himself on a path marked as a circle and approached the treasury door. Opening them, he found himself in a room filled with artifacts of the highest ranks. However, he could not understand which one could lead to disaster. At the end of the room, he encountered an entity that introduced itself as Puragos, the guardian of treasures. This entity turned out to be immortal and the lord of the labyrinth. The guard's threats made no impression on the hero, who, knowing the truth, began to laugh. The owner of the treasure took the map and sought to enjoy the riches. Filled with anger, the guard rushed to attack, but the hero did not give in, returning blows. During the break between attacks, the main character turned to Rick with a request to find the vessel of life. The guard became a lich to become immortal, and explained that he made great sacrifices for the Empire. But in reality, he wanted to seize all the treasures for himself. The last parts of the map were protected by Hyena, and the guardian became a lich using the artifact. He himself made a mark in the labyrinth to return here again. The hero realized that the opponent did not yet possess perfect magic, which gave him an advantage. The guard explained that those who climbed the tower could become NPCs without returning to the destroyed world. Those who couldn't rise must just survive. The security guard, who was an ordinary person, was only able to reach the 35th floor. Therefore, he made a contract with the devil and became his servant. The Empire rejected his proposals, and he was one step too late, becoming part of the tower. The guard was shocked by the news of the deal with Kildoris, which caused surprise. The hero decided not to use the challenge card, planning it for later stages. A moment later, Rick appeared before them, carrying the vessel of life, which he broke without difficulty. This act made the hero the first to defeat the boss of the maze. Before leaving, he picked up new skills, particularly for long-range attacks. After that, he shared the results of completing the maze with the community. There he learned that to pass the 30th floor, he needed a partner, and the bald head wanted to be that partner. Once on the 29th floor, the protagonist decided to increase his resistance to cold and poison. On the 30th floor, meanwhile, representatives of various guilds were discussing a plan of action regarding the newcomers. It was decided that the floor would be temporarily under Jim's control, which raised some doubts. Before carrying out the order, Jim gathered all the guild members and gave the order through the window. He ordered the expulsion of the class of princes and her followers from the tower. The protagonist decided to spend time dancing to level up when a female boss suddenly appeared. It was Magneta, a pillar of the Order of Ice and Fire, who invited him to follow her. In the building, he met Wayne, the boss from the 19th floor. They explained that the hero's followers destroyed the last temple, cleansing Magneto and Wayne of their sins. The hero realized that these were the same characters he had seen in the illusion on the 15th floor. Magneto decided that instead of a test, as a thank you, she would give him a seal of ice. This seal gives the right to become a paladin of the order, which has a chance to be reborn. The protagonist must talk about the order while climbing the tower to give it a chance to be reborn. Ready to accept the gift, the hero felt his body begin to freeze. Therefore, he was forced to activate the fire seal to balance the forces. As a result, he became a paladin and received the new title Paladin of the Forgotten Order. Now, he had access to sacred artifacts. But Wayne noticed that the hero did not possess all the skills. Therefore, he gave him the Love and Pass On artifact, which allows him to peacefully put enemies to sleep. Wayne also shared knowledge on how to increase sacred power by climbing the tower. The hero learned that Wayne and Magneto had climbed to the 94th and 96th floors and received their advice. After they left, the order split into two parts and was destroyed. The main character now needed to unite these two forces. Magneto thanked him and opened a portal through which the hero reached the 30th floor. He noticed a storm in the sky, indicating the approach of the newcomers. The decision was to go to the guest yard, but he saw no one there. However, as he turned the corner, he saw a crowd of guild members surrounding Lysan. Another manager on the 30th floor demanded information, being a member of the Alliance. The hero checked the message and decided to help Lysan first, and then deal with the guild's order. Pulling on his mask, he launched a pebble and destroyed several people, forcing the rest to flee. Before fleeing, they shouted that he had a week to remove the pass, or war would begin. On the 26th floor, Jim received a message from Spencer about the lift. He was supposed to destroy all members of the classy Princess Alliance on the 30th floor, but was unhappy with the order. Jim decided to sever ties with the guild and went to Spencer. Meanwhile, the protagonist noticed that the newcomers had entered the tower when he saw the bright sky. He posted a new post and, after doing a roll call, learned that the survival rate had increased to 70. Later, he decided to resolve the situation with Lilka, whom he saw through the window. She pestered people, asking them to buy something, but was hit on the head by the main character. Stepping aside, he handed her tears to Equeta, and the crown that was not a crown. After all the snow spirits were exterminated, only the seed remained. Lilka explained that the seed could be planted anywhere, as long as an elf or druid was nearby. They should be above the 70th floor. But Lilka remembered a druid on the 35th floor. This druid was removed from his position as a priest due to accusations of attempting to destroy the human kingdom. Because of this, his village was burned down, and now he hates people. The hero set off for the portal, wanting to find a team of at least 4 people. He met Sabina, a member of the classy Plintess Alliance. The woman put a bandage on him without asking questions and invited him to join their team. The team consisted of Shogun, Teijin, and Enmi, all of whom seemed quite strong to the main character. So he agreed and offered to be the commander. Before entering the portal, they encountered a guild team, but ignored them and headed to the 31st floor. The first task was an obstacle course, where you had to reach the finish point. Only 5 teams could advance to the finals, and among all the participants, there were only 2 teams from the Alliance. The hero jumped up, wanting to check the direction, and noticed a bright light on the mountain. He and Teijin decided to split up to explore. The main character met a green jellyfish, which, due to its curse, could turn him into stone. He destroyed it, escaping, and after a while the rest of the team arrived, including Teijin. Having found 5 curse-resistant skill books, he distributed them among the participants. The hero set off in the direction of the sound, ordering the team to go in the opposite direction. As he headed forward, he found an alliance team barely able to stand after being attacked by monsters. After helping them and sharing elixirs, he learned that the guilds had sent weakening monsters upon them. One of the participants explained that the light on the mountain indicates the use of the artifact by guilds. This meant that guilds rose up, using spellbooks to weaken other teams. They almost reached the second artifact when they were suddenly attacked by green jellyfish. The jellyfish turned them into stone, and the main character himself was behind this attack. He watched as the jellyfish attacked and took the artifact. Thanks to his abilities, he found the spellbooks hidden on the map and brought them to the team. They set off on their journey, and at some point one of them, the shogun, became hungry and asked for some dried beef. The year that Elion had been hiding also asked, wondering if they could be trusted. He took the beef, and Rick crawled out from under his jacket, his cuteness making everyone melt. After that, they continued their journey and soon reached the final stage, a mountain of loose sand. The team linked up and walked in a line, with Elion at the lead. Suddenly, 4 spellbooks were activated on them, causing them to fall downward. Elion could not use skills, but he could activate artifacts. He activated the Holy Crab, which helped him lift the team to the top. Before crossing the finish line, Elion activated 5 spellbooks on his opponents for revenge. On the 32nd floor, each participant was given 2 boxes of random skills. The team decided to give all the boxes to Elion as a thank you. In his room, he opened the first box and received the Firebomb skill, which he already had. Luck reacted to the second box, and he received the Magic Neutralization skill, which ignored magical attacks. Elion's joy was interrupted by Todd, who reported the Alliance's problems. He said that guilds attack people indiscriminately, and when they respawn on the 30th floor, they are being hunted down by the manager's team, trying to drive them out of the tower. Meanwhile, on the 27th floor, the bald head received a message from the police officer. He asked for help from the Alliance members, promising a meeting on the 50th floor as a reward. Elion and his team were on the 32nd floor, carrying out a capture mission. The goal was to conquer the zone in 12 hours, otherwise they would be eliminated from the game. Elion's team had to avoid attacks from the combined guilds that were attacking from all sides. The protagonist developed a plan, knowing that each zone was guarded by only one person. He decided to distract the opponents while the rest of them captured other areas. Elion rushed into battle, gathering the attackers and destroying them one by one, ignoring their attacks or responding with dances to improve your skills. He used all possible skills and artifacts, destroying opponents without stopping. Suddenly, he created a barrier around himself, making his enemies think they had caught him. At that time, he planted bombs around the area and fled when they began to explode. The system reported the elimination of 3 teams and the granting of a new title to Elion. But his condition was serious, and there were only 2 minutes left until the end of the countdown. He didn't have the strength to get up and had already accepted possible defeat, closing his eyes. Suddenly, allies appeared and pulled him away, despite the time remaining. At the last second before losing, he opened his eyes and saw 2 alliance teams. Victory was theirs, and the task was accomplished, although Elion barely survived the ordeal. Elion sat in the waiting room, reviewing the combined skills and new ranks. He decided to post a message about selling the skills and cameras with a discount post. Suddenly, he received a photo sent by your bald head, who was already on the 30th floor. He interrupted the conversation between the guild members, destroying them, and then took a photo of the mountain of defeated bodies. The photo was sent to Elion, which made the main character very happy. Leaving the room, he joined the team, took the arrows, and used the skill to turn them into fire arrows. This almost gave him away, as Todd had previously mentioned that only Plintesses had this skill. Elion quickly explained that this skill was passed down to him by the Plinces. The team went to the 33rd floor, where they were supposed to transport the injured man. The choice accidentally fell on Elion, and he instantly fell to the ground, unable to use his skills. The conditions were simple. If he couldn't be delivered within a certain time, he would die, and someone else would be injured. The Shogun took on the task of carrying Elion, and he discovered that he could use the artifacts. Along the way, they encountered another team and decided to defeat them. Having destroyed their opponents, they reached a cable over the river, which they had to cross. Sogen and Elion began the first leg of the crossing, with Sogen confessing his feelings. On the 20th floor, during the defense competition, his teammates left him as bait. He managed to survive, but from then on, he stopped trusting people. Meeting Elion, who was known as the Eye of the Devil, changed his attitude. He began to trust again and did not regret it. Meanwhile, they had already crossed the crossing when Elion sensed that something was wrong. Sabina and Taejin were attacked by guild members. The shogun did not hesitate to rush back to save his friends, following the example of the Devil's Eye. There were many more opponents, and the struggle for survival had truly begun. Sabina and Taejin covered each other, fending off the attacks of their opponents. But suddenly, the guild group commander used the detection skill, and Taejin's stealth became useless. They were surrounded, and the situation became increasingly difficult until the shogun appeared and the battle became 3 against 20. Later, when the guild members began to fall, Jim appeared, betrayed his people, and began to destroy them. Elion, having learned that Jim was on the 33rd floor, appealed on behalf of the princess for help for the Devil's Eye. As a reward, he promised the ability to use the main character as he wished. Without waiting for an answer, Jim destroyed all the opponents, and then took one wounded man and moved on. After crossing the chasm, he turned to Elion and asked for help in killing the guild newcomers. He reported that 2 of them did not have any coins for revival, and one of the women only had 1. Jim planned to reach the 35th floor, where the guilds were going to kill the princess and her followers. Elion agreed to help him, but promised to get ahead of them and destroy them. After moving to a safe zone, Jim killed the wounded man he was carrying and contacted Elion through the artifacts. They moved to the arena, where only their team and guilds remained. Among the spectators were NPCs, including many of Elion's acquaintances. Fleta, the NPC in charge of the 34th floor, healed all the wounds of the combatants. Elion, upon hearing her name, realized that the sword he held in his hands belonged to her. Elion shouted, calling her a traitor, trying to get her attention. But this only complicated the situation, causing stronger trials. Fleta, seeing his power, added dangerous plants to the arena that grow above the 40th floor. She measured the combat performance of all teams, most of which had 5,000 points. Jim's team, which consisted of only 1 person, had the same number of points. Instead, Elion's team, which consisted of 8 members, had 18,000 points. Having equalized the indicators, Fleta decided to reorganize the teams for balance. She divided them into 2 groups, Team A and Team B. Team A included 30 people from guilds, and its score was 29,000 points. Team B consisted of 9 people, including Elion, Jim, Sabina, and others, and had 23,000 points. The losing team was eliminated, and all its members died. Then NPCs were allowed to place bets, and the team's winnings were their percentage. There were 6 fights in the match, and 4 had to be won to win. Fleta decided who would fight in each of them, starting with Sabina, whom she placed first. She faced 2 opponents and won. Jim also won his fight against 1 opponent. Next came Sogen and Taejin, but they lost, and all hope remained with Enmi. Enmi was very nervous before the fight, and Elion decided to prepare her. Lighting a fire, he invited her to dance, increasing her combat performance. Then he told her about the plants in the arena and suggested how they could be used. Motivated, Enmi entered the battle using plants one by one. She caught opponents with vines and used the arcane ballista skill at the highest level. By shooting at her opponents, she won. This boosted the team's morale, giving them a great chance of winning the competition overall. The fleet left 16 people on Elion, which did not pose any particular difficulties. But her dislike was obvious, and he quickly noticed it. His eyes told her that if she continued like this, she might be put on the rebel list. Elion took advantage of this and approached her, hinting at the possible consequences. However, He was knowledgeable enough to know that she could not attack him. He shared information about the system and demanded only one thing: permission to place bets. The fleet agreed, and the team delivered their valuable artifacts. The battle began, and Rick suggested how to catch all the opponents at once. The plan was to drop the horn by attracting the attention of one of the enemies. And so it happened. One of the opponents drew attention to the horn, and the fight for the artifact began. During the battle, they noticed a deceased person's lamp nearby, from which ghosts instantly flew out. These ghosts weakened them, but Elion defeated them with the help of the Aurora Ray. Victory was theirs, and the team began to clear the debris from the arena. Dragging the broken lamp, Elion found himself in a white space that looked like an abyss. There, Fleta appeared before him, and her reaction was not the best when she saw his sword. But she didn't want the sword. She was only interested in the horn, with which she could summon Kildoris. Fleta spoke of her connection with Kildoris, of their marriage during the war between heaven and hell. She betrayed him for his sake, tearing the boundary between the world of heaven and hell, and he took advantage of her love. Without wanting to go into details, Fleta promised to provide the means to obtain Felon's armor. Elion thought for a moment, because he still owed Kildoris, and he didn't want to cause him any trouble. But the temptation was strong, and he eventually agreed to her proposal. The team moved to the waiting area, where the protagonist revealed his reward. He received skill boxes, elixirs, iron armor, crystals for spells, and other useful items. Among all this was a decision-making lollipop that immediately caught Rick's attention. He ate it, and his level increased significantly. Elion tried on the new items and, together with the team, went to the 35th floor, Predator de Funai Forts. There they were supposed to reach a safe zone, but there were 5 more bosses on the surface. Each of them owned their own plot, with varying survival rates. The most dangerous was the exiled druid, whose zone had only a 1% chance of survival. This was the boss Elion really needed to meet. But, to keep himself and his team safe, he decided to move to Safe Zone 2. Suddenly, one of the boss's range increased due to a countdown, and they had to decide whether to flee. Having received a message about the creation of a safe zone, they moved on. A local boss appeared on the way, and a battle immediately began between him and Elion. Elion ordered the team to engage in battle, and the consequences of this were visible even from afar. Spencer watched, planning to deal with the Devil's Eye and Jim, who suddenly appeared from behind. Elion's team fought to the last and eventually defeated the boss, receiving a new title. The main character who made the greatest contribution received the Greenstone thing, which allowed him to control 3 zones. With its help, 3 windows appeared on the screen. In the first, he saw the attackers running after Lisan, and in the other, Jim was fighting with Spencer. They fought on equal terms, without resorting to decisive blows, both dodging attacks. Suddenly, Spencer realized that the battle was going to drag on, and activated his unique skill. He used a giant's punch and hit Jim right in the face. Moments before Jim was to die, the main character appeared, using his powers. He activated the Greenstone and changed the landscape in the area, thereby saving Jim. After that, they quickly fled to help other team members who had also been attacked. Having destroyed their enemies, they began to draw up a plan to destroy the newcomers. Meanwhile, the newcomers gathered together, and one of them guessed that Elion's next opponent would be the boss of Zone 2. The decision was made to set up an ambush. Louise went out to scout when she was suddenly attacked. It was a group that included Sabina and Lisan, who instantly began to flee. They lured Louise with them, and thus headed to Zone 5, where the chance of survival is only 1%. Louise did not know that the main character had already visited this area some time ago. Wearing the crown of the Queen of Spirits, he went there and met with the druid. The druid, who hated humans, immediately attacked, not wanting to listen to the protagonist's explanation. At the last moment, the protagonist summoned a powerful ally, Kildoris. He immediately started shouting, outraged by the problems with Fleta. Fleta, in fact, fled from heaven to hell, and blamed Kildoris for it. Despite this, Kildoris decided to postpone the conversation and force the druid to listen to him. A fierce fight broke out between them, but the main character was ordered to leave the zone. During this, one part of the area was fenced off to prevent its destruction, and so Sabina was left alone with Louise when Lisanne suddenly appeared. Louise dodged his blow, but still outmaneuvered him, believing that the dangerous enemy was dead. Then Elian appeared, activating the artificial night and new obtectors, which the other participant began to destroy. The protagonist ordered Sabine and the new member to take care of the guild members and take care of the newcomers. After trying to strike, the newcomers held their ground and counterattacked, knocking the hero off his feet. The protagonist rose and began a new fight. He noticed that while one participant was defending, the other was attacking. So he decided to destroy the enemy's wings using holy magic. He cast a spell on the defender, forcing her to face her own demon. While she was busy, the main character continued the battle with the attacking enemy. After striking a few blows, he grabbed the enemy and rose high into the sky. Then, using the gravity bracelet, he fell sharply down and finished off his opponent. Meanwhile, the opponent came to her senses, possessing new demonic powers, and immediately attacked. But she was attacked by a giant bullet, and Lily appeared. Now, a competition has arisen between them as to who can destroy more newcomers. A new opponent started fighting another participant, and the main character rushed to help. He wanted to destroy another enemy, hoping to lead his team to victory. The fight broke out immediately, with the main character delivering blows covered in flames. The opponent, well prepared, knew his style and had learned all possible techniques. However, Jim unexpectedly intervened in the fight, trying to catch his opponent by surprise. It was now a 2-on-1 battle that was becoming increasingly intense, until the defender activated dozens of artifacts, creating barriers and traps. The battlefield has turned into a chaotic obstacle course full of dangers. The protagonist tried to get through everything using nebulous acceleration, but even this was calculated. Every step was expected. So he changed strategy, using a skill and turning Jim into metal. Then he launched it with a fiery explosion, boosting its flight with additional forces. The metal body flew over all the traps and hit its target. The opponent didn't have time to react. He was knocked off his feet by a powerful blow. The hero approached him and pointed his sword straight at his throat. Having won, the protagonist tied up his opponent and began questioning him, noticing the oath mark on his neck. The girl from the arena intervened, temporarily disabling the artifact's effects. The interrogation continued, and the hero asked the allies to turn away so they wouldn't see the action. He began to dance, dealing a psychological blow to the prisoner. He couldn't stand it, and agreed to tell the truth about how it all started. He mentioned other countries where false information is also being spread, not out of selfishness, but because of the consequences. More hunters, more gates to the tower. The world is engulfed in chaos, and the balance is bursting at the seams. However, the oath sign was activated again, and the enemy died, losing his head. The hero and his companion decided not to waste time and climbed higher. Jim later joined Lisanne's squad, deciding to act from a different position. Meanwhile, Kildoris scolded the hero again, forcing him to understand his mistake. And then he hinted that the druid was still waiting, so there was no point in delaying. The hero returned to the zone once more to convey his request to the essence of the forest. He handed over the seed, and the keeper, recognizing his sincerity, accepted it. For the first time in a long time, he believed in someone who thought differently. In memory of him, he donated a peace zone created for harmony and growth, and he gave a new title that marked the change in the hero's heart. The seeds were planted immediately, and in an instant a tree grew. They were joined by a companion who took off her helmet, surprising everyone with her appearance. She asked to switch to you, addressing the hero as a princess. No matter how he made excuses, the truth was obvious to Lily. She put all the facts together and realized that the two individuals were the same person. Although she promised to keep the secret, she forced him to remove the mask with the help of dance. Later, when the hero posted the next video, tears came to his eyes. In this difficult moment, he was supported by the forest ranger. Despite everything, the recording was posted, and the girl did not miss the opportunity to mock him. Seizing the moment, the boy asked the forest spirit about the mysterious box. He replied that you need to put a precious stone inside and make a wish, adding that he would make an agreement with one of the NPCs on the next floor. The hero moved on, heading towards a meeting with new mysteries. Meanwhile, high above, the stranger learned of the newcomer's defeat. Meanwhile, on the 36th floor, you had to cross the lake to get to the island. The main character managed to do this easily, without obstacles or delays. But the girl, saving her team, was left alone on the other side of the water. Climbing further, the traveler reached the 39th floor and found himself in a dark cave. To open the portal, you had to find 5 rare stones. They didn't have time to realize where to look for them when the unexpected happened. Monsters appeared before them, resembling demons from the depths. Their leader needed new servants to pass the test. They immediately rushed into battle and obtained rare stones from the first 2 opponents. Without delay, they inserted the obtained material into special recesses on the portal. Deciding that the decorations were dropping from monsters, they destroyed several hundred more. However, further victories brought nothing. The stones no longer fell. At this moment, the demonic leader chose new slaves for himself. Among the chosen ones was a traveler and a girl with a steely character. In the new location, they met familiar allies who were also trapped. In an attempt to escape, they used Jim's metal transformation again. After destroying the door, they made their way into the next hall, only to encounter the same enemy. He moved them to a deep mine, where they were forced to dig in search of artifacts. Other prisoners were already working there, both players and characters from the world. One of them advised not to look at the demons watching over the captives. He said that he had been here for 490 days and had not even thought about escaping. Because there are 2 chances. Open the portal or face death. There is no other way out. Most of the locals were left without allies or coins to continue. Seeing a demon eat a rat, the boy offered him a steak. This attracted the attention of 2 NPCs, who turned out to be allies with their own agenda. Gale and Pomerham shared a plan to kill the demon boss, albeit a failed one. Soon the main character was summoned to the leader who ran the mine. One of his new acquaintances advised him to attack immediately, which he did. Although the duel was lost, the unexpected attack struck Meglet himself. Eventually, they sat down at the negotiating table and began discussions. Hearing about the disruptions in work, the demon immediately went to check. After returning, the conversation continued in a calmer vein. Seizing the moment, the traveler inquired about the old demon war. It turned out that this was a sacred conflict that was supposed to unite the dark races. The war consisted of 5 branches, where each clan had its own opponent. The white demons defeated the red ones, the blue ones defeated the black ones, and the yellow ones were first. After this story, the hero received a secret quest with an important message. The goal is to unite former enemies and complete unfinished business. However, the implementation required a lot of effort and agreement from all participants. The plans were interrupted by Rick, who came across a valuable artifact. The main character quickly hid the stone without attracting too much attention. A stranger approached him and warned him that the locals were taking everything they found. After thanking him, the guy treated him to a candy bar and shared the idea. For the next 2 days, he constantly attacked the boss while searching for more stones. At the same time, he thought over every detail of the future escape plan. During another fight, the demon left the hall again. The traveler took advantage of this and planted explosives around the entire perimeter. When the enemy returned, the hero remembered the Stone of Beginnings and asked about it directly. However, he only smiled and said that he would not get the artifact. Despite this, the demon agreed to conclude a contract to transfer the item after his death. Eventually, all the prisoners gathered together, preparing to escape from the dungeon. It was at this moment that their supervisor appeared, and the situation escalated. The hero activated the explosives he had prepared in advance and moved forward. Gathering everyone, he led them to the hall with teleportation platforms. One of the walls had been blown up. Behind it lay hidden jewels. Later, they destroyed another partition and finally reached their own. The boy realized that each stone in the slab compresses reality itself. That's why the demon kept the slaves. He was afraid of disappearing along with the place. When all the elements were in place, the space began to collapse. The countdown was activated, and everyone was ordered to head to the portal. Without hesitation, the hero turned and ran towards the danger. At the other end of the hall, his allies held back the last enemy. He joined the battle, supporting the demon deserters at a crucial moment. Their forces united in a decisive attempt to destroy the tyrant. Gale, having absorbed Pomathum, entered into a decisive battle with his main opponent. The hero decided to play it safe and instructed his friend to activate the backup plan. But the evil lord won, and the jewel fell from the fallen Gale. The process of destroying the zone suddenly stopped. Space froze. Soon the same Rick appeared, carrying the slab and the rest of the stones. Activating the portal destroyed both the location and Meglit. The rewards were titles, an artifact, and a precious crystal. Later, it became clear that there was now a new guardian at this level. The hero moved to the 40th floor, where his comrades were waiting for him. The meeting was accompanied by thanks, although it did not last long. They were dispersed by a girl who ran out with shouts of joy. After a short dialogue, she invited him to her place. In the villa, after taking a shower, the hero began to examine the titles. One of them contained a reference to chaos, which alarmed him. When the landlady came in, he wanted to ask about it, but she refused to explain. Instead, she handed over a ring and messages to be passed on to Heidi. But first, we had to find the letter on this floor. The hero asked her to exchange the stones for equivalent ones. Having received part of the armor, he set off for the sanctuary that had once been recommended. There, the system began the analysis, taking into account the path, willpower, and style of passage. Then the test began, which had 6 consecutive stages. The first opponent was a 9th-level opponent, Dalkan. He barely felt his opponent's blows, having dealt with him in a few moves. The next 5 stages also passed quickly, without encountering any serious resistance. The last one remained, the final test, where the opponent again became the demon boss, whom he had recently defeated. The system limited some of his power to level the playing field. The battle began instantly, and the hero could only dodge and look for an opportunity. At the crucial moment, a new piece of armor was revealed to him. Along with it, hidden abilities that required special activation were activated. After studying the instructions, he invoked one of the abilities, Rainbow Reflection. It delivered a powerful blow that seriously damaged the enemy. After the victory, 3 of his skills rose in rank. Returning to the safe zone, he went to Lilka, who was busy with the equipment. While she was forging armor, he sat down on the couch and opened the community. He was interested in the news, looked at other people's achievements, and asked about the situation in the tower. And in the end, he became convinced that it was his actions that changed the course of events. The floor was destroyed, history was rewritten, and a familiar ally became the new owner. To understand how to conquer chaos and reach the 100th floor, he decided to seek help. After making a few compliments to the girl and giving her 2 artifacts, he learned something important. The essence of chaos can be found at level 60th, but you still have to get there. After updating the community on progress, he moved on to the next stage of the test. The 41st floor and the next 8 were intended to be an important choice that influenced future fate. At the scene, the hero noticed a familiar tree with sap that disorients monsters. A branch was also found nearby, useful for creating a handle for a new weapon. He also discovered a skill book that granted resistance to electrical attacks. Two types of enemies stood ahead: heavy buffaloes and two horned mustangs. It was necessary to choose who to fight, but another option appeared. He decided to destroy both squads at once and managed to do it surprisingly easily. The system instantly transferred him to the next 42nd floor. An old building appeared before him, and an abandoned carriage stood next to it. Inside sat a skeleton holding a sealed box. As soon as the hero took it in his hands, the skeleton crumbled into dust. Inside was a key and a letter mentioning Belstein's secret space. From the letter, it became known that the Count was fond of occult sciences and artifacts. When the Inquisitors learned about this, their pursuers set out after him. The Count tried to destroy the evidence, but it seems he did not have time to complete his plan. After reading this, he headed to the estate, determined to learn the truth. His goal is to expose the truth and collect the promised rewards. Inside the estate, he saw many artifacts suitable for potion making. His attention was drawn to an ancient coffin with a seal. The demi-demon rested in it. This was the same one who destroyed the Belstein family many years ago. The hero had to choose to escape or to permanently seal the magic seal. He kicked the coffin in anger, causing the system to warn of the risk of unsealing. After that, he gathered his thoughts and strengthened his defenses to avoid the awakening of evil. Next, he set about making potions, using everything he could find in the mansion. After spending the night in place, at dawn he tested the new potion on one of the monsters. The result was impressive. The monster disappeared almost instantly, without having time to resist. Later, he decided to pour the same potion on the coffin to increase the demon's suffering. He was faced with a choice again, to continue or to leave it and walk away. 15 days passed, during which he prepared living water every day. Over time, the creature began to beg for more, the addiction becoming too strong. At this point, the demon offered an exchange: water in exchange for a reward. Among the promised things are a ring of space and part of the truth about the tower. He accepted the offer, poured out the potion, and received everything mentioned. A fragment of history became known. The demon's home world was destroyed. To survive, his species began to infiltrate the human world through incarnations, a little more living water. And he continued his story about the past. The process of moving into another reality only hastened the demise of their race. Another option for rescue was also mentioned, but he did not have time to complete the contract. At the moment the seal was completed, everything around burst into light. The hero was instantly transported to the next floor of the tower. On the new level, the hero encountered several monsters and their boss, whom he destroyed without any effort. After obtaining skill books, artifacts, and other useful materials, he obtained a mandrake. This creature devours souls with its piercing scream, but the hero and Rick had protection from it. The frog that was with them quickly calmed the mandrake. The hero, having fed her, decided to name her Totog, after which a friendship was formed between them. Arriving on the new floor, he had a choice between two warring parties. A war was raging between strange birds and iron demons, whose eggs and masks he was supposed to find. The hero devised a plan. He sent Rick and Totog to distract the fighters while he himself dug a tunnel to the eggs. Having collected all the eggs, he was already planning to move on, when suddenly the mother of the eggs appeared in front of him. After destroying it, he went after the masks, which he also took without hindrance. Eventually, he reached the 45th floor and found himself in front of the water, where he saw two NPCs. One was a great whale, a spirit of the earth, who could not swim. The other was a fairy who could not fly because of her wet wings. Each of them begged for help, and the hero had to choose whom to save. Even though both could not swim, they could communicate in a strange way. The hero decided to evaluate each of their arguments and make a choice based on that. Every bad word put them in the negative while he counted their chances. At the end, the hero promised to save the one who would give the best reward. Each of them promised valuable artifacts and even revealed some secrets. The hero turned to his comrade for help, and together they saved both of them. Mobilik and Chikirin told their story of how they ended up in the lake. They were eager to reach a safe zone where they could find protection. As weak NPCs, they believed that that was where their safety would be. The hero, having a new choice, decided to help and received a new quest with a reward from them. Thinking about how to cross the lake, he wanted to create a new boat, but there were no materials. Then he noticed the clay that was around and decided to make a springboard out of it. The idea was to fly through a storm in the middle of a lake. They jumped onto a homemade sled, and the hero pushed them with his skills. So they managed to fly through the clouds but did not reach the island. Then the hero activated his ice abilities, and they reached the island with the well. He received numerous awards and learned that with the ring you need to go to the 49th floor. Mobilik and Chikirin jumped into the well, and the hero teleported to the next floor. The hero defeated the stone turtle, completed a hidden quest, and gathered materials for his ally. Unexpectedly, he received a message from the community that caught his attention. An event was organized where fans could ask the classy princess questions. They only asked about the shine and the boy, so the hero quickly explained the need for chaos points. Meanwhile, he received a message from a fluffy guy who was on the 60th floor. He talked about the interest of newcomers without guilds and the division of the community after the 70th floor. This made the hero think about possible changes on future floors. After passing the 47th floor, he found himself on the 48th in a deserted place, where there was nothing living. There he had to choose between escaping from Haida or being left in safety for 30 days. The fairy Hades immediately appeared and bound the hero with chains to prevent a catastrophe. She asked about Odelto, but she didn't remember anything, only that she had been looking for him for a long time. The hero received a hidden quest and decided to tell about the ring and the letter on the floor. The fairy opened the chains, took the hero for a friend, and did not want to let him go. Together they set out to find the letter, but the fairy could not enter the safe zone. The hero left his friend with her to prove that he would return, and went into the middle. There he met Daniom, whom Haida remembered as her friend. Daniom offered to rest at his house, which aroused the hero's suspicion. The hero inquired about the price of this gift and learned about Odelto, the son of Daniom. Daniom revealed that his son had been killed by Haida and asked to seal the fairy. He promised a generous reward for help in this matter. Daniom gave the hero a diary that belonged to his son. It told of the fairy's betrayal, but something was bothering the hero. Suddenly, the eyes became active, and they reported the fakeness of this diary. The eyes helped me find the real one, in which the whole truth was told. Without giving any sign, the hero went to Daniom and accepted his quest. He was given a device for sealing souls. The hero headed to the fairy, giving her the letter he had found earlier. Reading the diary revealed the truth. The explosion the fairy created was not her will. Daniom took advantage of the fairy's stress by sending her loved ones to war. The diary also mentioned the sage John, who was supposed to help avoid death. John planned to turn Delta into a homunculus and create an artifact for the fairy. Suddenly, a wooden doll appeared, inside which was the soul of Daniom's son. The doll asked to accept the quest and send the hero to the sage on the 52nd floor. She also gifted a new high-ranking skill. The hero returned to Daniom, who came up with a plan to distract the fairy. They decided to use their son's portrait and belongings to seal her. The fairy appeared at the promised meeting with her lover and rushed to Daniom, who was hiding behind a stone. She created an explosion, but the hero temporarily sealed her away to complete the quest. The explosion could not overcome Daniom, but the hero was ready to fight. He ordered Rick to take the device and use the portal. Meanwhile, a fight began between the hero and Daniom, in which the former prevailed. Even after strong blows, the opponent did not fall. So the real fight began, both of them activating their most powerful skills. The hero was almost one step away from victory when the opponent's psyche began to fail. Elion defeated his opponent by smashing a bottle of horrors he had hidden over his head. This led to the fact that Daniom's consciousness could not stand it, and he began to beg for forgiveness. Over time, he became completely subordinate to the tower. The hero headed to the 49th floor, where calculations awaited him, taking into account every choice. As a result, he received a new title, and his eyes told him about the new kind of chaos that possessed him. It was a new, unrecognized chaos, and it was immediately transferred to the 50th floor. There he found Lilka, and they went to the alley where the hero gave all the materials. Saying goodbye to Totog was difficult, because he didn't want to change his owner. The hero's crying was interrupted by a message about a possible contract with Lilka, who wanted to sign it. The hero first asked for his quest reward, and then asked about the chaos creature. Lilka, hesitantly, explained that it was a sign of the world's transition into a period of destruction. Now, new portals with stronger monsters will begin to open in the hero's world. This was effectively the beginning of the end, and all the guilds had already figured out how to get around this transition. Large guilds limit the number of those who rise, but the hero hastened the destruction. However, most of the people have already left the tower, leaving only the strong who still continue the fight. Now, fewer and fewer people will be able to enter the tower until it is completely empty. Lilka decided to return to the contract and handed the finished document to the hero. He decided to study him carefully first, and learned of her desire for him to become her successor. The hero, in principle, was not against it, because he had a lot of coins. Just as he was about to discuss it, something strange happened. The world around him changed, and a warning window appeared in front of him. It was about the prohibition of disclosing information about infinite coins. Otherwise, he and his loved ones will be in danger. Therefore, he immediately signed the contract, although he was surprised by Lilka's signature. It looked like a small hand that belonged to Lilka. Then she transformed into a little girl and explained that this was her true form. It turned out that she had previously been in working uniform because a little one would not have been taken seriously. Lilka asked about the friendly match that was supposed to take place on the 50th floor. It was an event where servers from different countries were combined, and participants were selected randomly. Players with the highest ranks automatically became participants. The hero went to the arena and ended up in the waiting room, where he met Jim, Lily, and Sabina. They greeted each other, and Lily suggested they compete for points, even though they were on the same team. The stages of the competition were various tasks, and the first was the prediction of the fights. In it, participants had to guess who would win in a particular match. The hero won this stage, after which Lily entered into battle with the monster. She beat him by just 2 strokes, earning first place and a 100% score. The competition continued, and in the next battle the protagonist won with the same results. Since the results of several countries coincided, another match was organized. He and 2 new guild members met there. During the battle, the hero used newly created artifacts, potions, and weapons. Thanks to this, he defeated both opponents and brought victory to his country. After the battle, he gave healing potions to his opponents, and then said goodbye to his friends. Lilka also said goodbye, and he headed to the 51st floor, where the ordeal of death began. The first test was drowning, and he had to survive for a month. The hero used a mask for underwater breathing, and his friend Rick pulled him along. The path to the surface turned out to be dangerous. They encountered monsters that they had to overcome. Then they built a raft and swam to land. On the way, they came across shipwrecks and a man begging for help. The hero extended his hand to him, but he suddenly pulled out a weapon. A crowd of the same people appeared here, ready to rob. The protagonist quickly overcame them and continued on his way. Eventually, they came across the ship of the robber captain. When the captain learned of the destruction of his squad, he noticed the main character approaching. Using force, the hero forced the prisoner to tell about the squad of hired killers. They destroyed the strongest opponents on the orders of one of the guilds. Trying to learn more, he received information about the Kraken hunt. After that, He took all the trophies and set off for the top of the ocean. There he noticed the guild members already engaged in battle with the sea monster. To act more precisely, the hero dived into the water and cut off 2 tentacles from the kraken. Thus, he immobilized the creature and ordered the guild members to be distracted. While the others held back the enemies, he headed for the portal leading upwards. After receiving his reward, he immediately moved to the 52nd floor. There he was met by a small demon and became a guide to the sage. It was that wise John who could help with Haida and Odelto. When asked about previous visitors, the old man remembered a group from 10 years ago. The hero recognized their names. They were the future founders of great guilds. It was they who heard from the sage the prophecy about chaos and the end of the world. And that's when they decided to create a false progression system. This helped them rise, but doomed others to death. The hero decided to learn more about the tower itself. The old man explained that it appears with the arrival of chaos. When the edge of the world collapses, the tower shatters it and begins a new cycle. At first glance, its appearance means the end, but this is not so. The tower was created to restore balance by containing chaos throughout the system. The only way to stop the destruction is to gather chaos and go through 100 floors. This led the hero to the idea that it was necessary to develop new talented fighters. But the pioneers, on the contrary, destroyed the weaker ones, asserting their superiority. This injustice sparked anger, but John assured them that there were other strong people. Some of them died because they encountered even stronger creatures. The sage's team should have listened to the advice, but they chose greed. Their time has passed, and instead, the time for a new path has come. Suddenly, John addressed the hero, calling him by all his names, even as a scoundrel. The hero was surprised that the sage activated the same eyes as his own. Then everything fell into place, and the meaning of the sudden address became clear. The old man asked for help. He needed a part of the homunculus, that is, the core for Odelto. Without it, resurrection was impossible, but the crystal was remembered. Elion immediately handed it to John and went for a walk himself. But soon he heard a scream and saw the boy being attacked. The attackers quickly fled as soon as they recognized his mask. The young man explained that those people were murderers disguised as collectors. After a short conversation, they said goodbye, and the main character moved on. He shared the news about the killers in the community, and also learned that the bald head was in the 94th unit of his country. His thoughts were interrupted by the news of Odelto's successful revival. The hero immediately set out for them, receiving thanks and a reward. After that, he moved to a new floor, where he was to survive for a month. There he accidentally came across a giant beast, the Lord of the Cold. One blow, and the monster was destroyed. This was noticed by a stranger passing by, named Adam. He immediately began collecting remains and trophies. Then he invited the guest with him to a building nearby. There, a blow awaited Adam from a stern man who called himself Heglik. He ordered the prey to be prepared and seemed to be a teacher. He once taught Adam everything, including cooking. This prompted the young man to become his disciple. After thinking about it, the main character also decided to try his hand at this and asked to teach him the basics of cooking. At first, Heglik couldn't transfer the skill even after a relaxing massage. His knowledge was too valuable to be bought, only passed on under certain conditions. Transfer was only possible when the student's rank exceeded S level. After that, the acquired skill could only be level C, but it remained unique. Adam reached this level thanks to his strong desire. As soon as this happened, Heglik decided to arrange a little test for the guest. The main character brilliantly passed all the tests, which impressed the old master. Adam decided to help, because he knew how to bribe Heglik. During lunch, Elion treated the teacher to a glass of good wine. It worked, and Heglik agreed to pass on his culinary knowledge to him. In response, the guest promised to invite a catering company to the training. A week passed, and the hero tried to cook the dish himself for the first time. It turned out to be deadly. The tasting ended in his death. After the resurrection, he did not give up and, rising, began to cook again. His dishes became poisonous weapons. He fed his enemies, destroying them from within. In parallel, he asked friends from the community to hunt down members of the murder squad. Soon he was invited to his favorite takeout buffet, where he was a VIP customer. Representatives of all races worked there, creating dishes from different cultures. After dinner, the manager reminded us of the upcoming party and the invitation we had previously received. No one could be told about the event. Everything was kept secret. After overhearing the conversation, Adam really wanted to go with him. The manager initially refused, but later allowed the two of us to come. When it was time to say goodbye, Heglich presented Elion with a cookbook and a medal. He also instructed Adam to accompany the new student to the portal. Adam turned out to be the only one who knew the exact path and method of opening the passage. During the journey, the protagonist learned that Adam had been at this level for over 10 years. They talked about the tower and the years Adam spent inside. For a moment, doubts crept into Elion's mind, so he asked a few clarifying questions. The answers received confirmed the companion's words, and doubts were dispelled. Soon the travelers reached the Crystal of Eternal Frost. It was guarded by the monster that Elion intended to destroy. However, attention was drawn to the murderers who threw others to the monster to their deaths. They decided to split up. One attacked the killers, the other the guard. Together, they managed to destroy all the enemies and save the victims. Approaching the portal, the friends realized that they would end up in different places, so we decided to agree in advance how to meet in the future. Adam suggested connecting through the community, but learned something new. There he first heard about the classy princess, Elion's secret account. The main character was forced to come up with an explanation. He said his account was banned, so the community was not an option. Then he proposed another plan, to meet near additional quests. On the new floor, Elion noticed that the store was closed. However, the system allowed other participants to be robbed. Without hesitation, he headed straight for the side quest area. There he was met by a partially sealed boss named Velzat. He wanted to share his story, but Elion kept interrupting him. To silence the boss, the hero threw him a chocolate bar. However, his eyes told him that he was suffering from hunger. So if you feed him, you can gain his recognition. Velzat admitted that he wanted to lift the curse, but that after the destruction, he would still die. The only chance is to fill the emptiness in his stomach and weaken the effects of the curse. Elion immediately got down to business, trying to find a suitable way. First he tried plain water, but it didn't work. Then I tried clay, but it didn't help either. Their search was interrupted by Adam, who appeared an hour before the feast began. He decided to prepare something edible and started cooking right on the spot. Velzat, suffering, begged for food, but there was no time left. The heroes were instantly teleported to the banquet venue, and the killers, who were following them from afar, were already preparing a trap. They knew the heroes would return, and they were going to seize the moment. Meanwhile, Adam was admiring the dishes at the banquet. Elion carefully observed the guests and noticed several NPCs. He was eager to make contact with them and gain allies. Suddenly, a familiar man appeared, whom Elion did not immediately recognize. It was Fluffy, who immediately warned about dangerous NPCs. An example was the pirate-like man who began to mock Adam. He made fun of his clothes, his cleanliness, and even hinted at his unworthiness. However, among the hunters, there were those who liked to provoke. One of the guests demonstratively poured liquid on the NPC's head. The pirate wanted to strike, but his movement was stopped in an instant. Hunter grabbed his arm and stopped the attack. Elion's eyes suggested the stranger's name. It was Allison. Taking off his mask, he greeted Adam as if he were an old friend. They got talking, and Adam introduced Elion, who tried to be friendly. However, Allison belonged to one of the guilds, so he had claims on Elion. In the past, the protagonist has destroyed several newcomers, causing hostility. The tension was building, but suddenly Allison laughed, changing his tone. The manager announced them as Heglich's own students, shocking everyone. No one believed it until the cafeteria director appeared. interested in what he had heard. Overhearing the conversation, he made a proposal that stunned the guests. Elion and Adam were to prepare a festive dinner for everyone present. Standing at the stove, Elion suggested making dishes to accompany alcohol. Everyone liked the idea, and they immediately got to work. In an hour, we managed to create 70 different dishes. Each of them was complemented by a rare alcoholic beverage. Those present were stunned by the taste and aroma of the treat. While the principal was giving his speech, Rick's rank rose to B. Elion gained a new title and the recognition of the guests at the banquet. NPCs and hunters paid him homage and thanked him for the treat. Fluffy, moved, gave the main character his favorite T-shirt. As the guests began to disperse, the director made an important announcement. From now on, the buffet promises to support Elion and his friends in everything. The director spoke of the many influential groups at the highest levels of the tower. Among them were the Alliance of Arenas, the Hidden Garden, the Kingdom of Flowers and Birds, and the Fractal Park. But the most influential was considered the Kuldane Kitchen, the same takeaway buffet. This organization could become a real pillar if a mutually beneficial agreement were concluded with it. Adam suggested working as a cook in a cafeteria to gain experience. Elion agreed to supply them with ingredients, spices, and rare drinks. This became the basis of their profitable cooperation with the Kuldane Kitchen. Both received contracts and special bracelets for communication and sharing of finds. After that, Elion teleported upstairs to Velzat, wanting to cook something new. His eyes pointed to the large number of traps and artifacts scattered around. The killers, the owners of those traps, were waiting nearby, ready to attack. After a short conversation, they activated all their traps. However, none of them were able to harm the main character. Before the battle began, Elion and Rick danced by the fire. This only angered the killers, who quickly launched an offensive. One of their strikes caused a powerful explosion that was visible from afar. The explosion was noticed by Lily, who was also on that floor. She was just taking out the other assassins when she noticed the outbreak. Without hesitation, the girl immediately went there to help Elion. Elion fought back desperately, but the enemies grew more and more numerous. When another attack was too close, he barely dodged, thinking it was the end. But suddenly the air was filled with smoke. Someone had thrown smoke bombs. Into this chaos appeared Lily, who instantly joined the fight. With her help, the murderers were destroyed, and it became safer. When everything calmed down, Elion thanked them for their rescue and asked about the gorge. He was interested in those who controlled this region and attacked others. Lily explained that, together with the satellite, they had already eliminated this threat. This prompted even more questions from Elion, but he didn't have time to speak. Suddenly, Meow Punch appeared and addressed him by his real name. The main character was surprised, and Lily assured him that she hadn't told anyone about him. With no other choice, Elion removed his mask, revealing his face. Lizna My Poppy followed suit, revealing her face. Meow Punch resisted for a long time, but was finally forced to remove her mask by force. Underneath it was Clark, the famous singer from the poster on the T-shirt. This T-shirt was once given to him by Fluffy, and Elion remembered it well. After a short conversation, Elion sold Clark several of the artifacts he had found. Together with Lily, they set off for Velzat, hoping to gain his approval. Lily was the first to try to satisfy the monster's hunger, but to no avail. Clark used algae that grow to gigantic sizes in the water, but also to no avail. Then the main character started preparing the dish, adding a magic potion. The smell attracted everyone's attention, and everyone wanted to taste the unusual food. Elion warned his friends that it was dangerous to eat it, but he didn't stop everyone. After the first bite, the guests began to writhe from the disgusting taste. The potion gave the dish an effect that nearly broke the will of those present. When the plan failed, the hero poured the potion directly into Velzath's mouth. His hunger began to subside, and the curse lost its power and gradually disappeared. As a reward, Elion received rare resources, a key, and a new portal. Together with his friends, he decided to create a more effective potion for the future. Velzat, not wanting to suffer from taste again, opened the portal for others. Then Elion quickly climbed the next 3 floors, without any effort. At 58, he must either live in that horrible place for a month or reach the cradle of Big Cat. Within a few minutes, he was attacked by mini-cats, the same ones that interested Lilka. After dealing with several attackers, he spotted Big Cat and the entrance to Framburg, where a multitude of things were being created. Despite the distance, Big Cat began to attack him with powerful blows. The protagonist dodged and quickly approached the entrance to the city. The pass allowed him to pass further, although the dwarves greeted him unfriendly. Upon seeing the golden map, they changed their minds and led him deeper into the settlement. There he was offered a drink of living water, not knowing that it was diluted. Elion saw the substitution and asked to meet with a city representative. He offered to exchange knowledge of boiling living water for something valuable. A representative named Behiltan drew attention to his armor. He admitted to owning another part of the same kit. Elion wanted to buy it, but the city governor also wanted to do the same. Their conversation was suddenly interrupted by loud sirens warning of danger. A fog of plague was approaching from the direction of the egg of a creature that should have disappeared long ago. Elion asked Behilton to take him to the place of threat. He maintained the team's condition with potions as he approached the egg. Upon reaching the location, the team attempted to break the shell on their own. They failed, so Elion ordered everyone to flee and take Rick with them, and he himself, without hesitation, rushed straight into the middle of the mysterious egg.